Good evening. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman. It says we're live. New phone, new Bluetooth headphones that don't want to seem to work, although they worked like 20 minutes ago. Anyways, Temple of Doom. I see some new names. Hello, Ian Clark, and Melissa Harris, Big Al, Samuel Proctor, Eric Woods. Thank you all for coming by. Chris P was first. How is everybody tonight? And who else loves this movie besides me? H. Boomer?
I love this movie.
All right.
I love this movie. It is not my favorite Indiana Jones, but it is a great movie.
Okay. Well, you know what my thoughts on my favorite Indiana Jones movie is, right?
What?
What's that?
It's like you're dating triplets and they all have red hair. One's like, you got Sally, Susan, and Sarah, and like Sally's real adventurous and Susan's kind of like emo and Sarah's kind of like the family girl, but you can't decide between which one. So you just keep dating all three.
I've never had that problem.
Well, this one is going to rip your heart out.
But I can dream.
Go ahead, Zootopia. What are you going to say?
Is it this one will rip your heart out?
Just like his headphones.
Yes, Temple of Doom has been over the years. It's worked its way up to being my favorite. I think Last Crusade was for a while. Then Raiders took the crown, but more recently it has been Temple of Doom. And I think because, in my opinion, it's the pulpiest of all the Indiana Jones movies. I'm a big fan of Robert E. Howard's fiction, and he did write a lot of. In addition to writing the Conan stories, he wrote a lot of modern stories that would have these worldwide adventurers, like in far parts of the world, and they kind of reminded me of Indiana Jones type characters, and this reminds me more of something that you would have found in like a pulp magazine. You have the thuggy cults, you have the horrible ceremonies. It all reeks of like those magazines you weren't supposed to be reading back in the 1930s. Polite society would shun you, if you read them. And that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, I love this one. I think this is probably the one with my favorite opening, the opening scene. I think this one has the best. But it's also it was strange because I don't think a lot of people realize this is a prequel, and you see Indy kind of go through an arc, and then I think when he's at the end of the movie, it fits really well in with how he is at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I always kind of appreciated that.
That is interesting. You're right. It does technically take place before the first one, and he's not quite as nice a guy as he is in Raiders. In this one.
No. That's why I say he learns his lesson and he's a better person in Raiders. I don't think. When he kind of meets Marion in Raiders, that he went through this is how he kind of becomes a better person. So that when you can see how he became a better person, so that when he takes care of Marion more in Raiders.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Okay, cool. We'll give LeiaPlusSize another couple minutes, right? But
I'm still trying to fiddle with these.
Okay.
Interesting point about the beginning is it actually is Kate Capshaw singing and dancing, and that's why she took the role. She wanted to show off her singing and dancing skills.
Do we want to get kind of Kathleen Kennedy out of the way before we start the movie so that we don't ruin it for us? A discussion about Kathleen Kennedy's involvement in this.
I don't
go
have
ahead.
much to say about her, but feel free.
Well, as I've been looking into this a little bit more, apparently she has a lot bigger say in the Raiders of the Lost Ark series than she does in Star Wars. So, I mean, once she's out of Star Wars, which I think will be by the end of the year, she's not really going to have a say in that. But she has kind of not quite an ownership stake, but a creative input into Indiana Jones' character. That even if they fire her from Lucasfilm or she leaves or retires from Lucasfilm, she'll still have a big say in the production of the next Indiana Jones. I think that's kind of why they've been announcing, talking about a fifth one, and that. So she seems to have her claws into Indiana Jones a lot more than I'm comfortable with.
Is anyone in the chat excited for Indiana Jones 5? Throw your comments up on the screen.
Yeah. I'm not overly excited about this movie, but we'll see.
I'm
Okay.
assuming that it's going to take place either in the 70s or the 80s, and Indiana Jones is going to be working for the government, and then that person who's Phoebe
Waller-Bridge. Yes.
Waller-Bridge. I mean, she's going to come in, and Indy's going to be too old to do stuff, and she's going to say, "Step back, Indy, and let me take over, and I'll do this and I'll do that." And at the end of the movie, he's going to put his hat on her and say, "You go get him, girl, and you be the next adventure."
I don't know. We'll see. It's
Ian Clark, it does throw the year up there at the very beginning, 1935, and Raiders, it throws up 1936.
Yes.
But if you're not really thinking or paying attention, you don't really notice it, so don't feel bad for not catching it sooner. And Eric Wood makes a valid point. Temple of Doom is the only film in the series where Indy is the true hero. That's a very valid point.
Well, okay. I'm trying to think though. Last Crusade. You mean like he's more reacting than acting in those movies, and maybe he's taking more action in this one? Maybe. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Because he gets tied up at the end of Raiders.
And
he does still go after Marion, though.
Optimistic. Optimism is always a good outlook.
Hey, we all welcome optimism. Okay, and we'll see. You never know, right? Anyways, I'm looking forward to what do you call it though? Looking forward to tonight's movie, definitely. I didn't see this in the theater back in the day. I think they thought I was too young to see this on the big screen, especially with someone's heart getting removed from his chest while he was still alive, and then it beats in the dude's hand. So I was big into the Raiders of the Lost Ark toys, though. I had a bunch of those, and I was waiting for Temple of Doom toys, and the toy lineup was terrible for Temple of Doom. They didn't have the
action figures.
Yeah, they were oversized, so they didn't match my other ones.
No, they did not.
And I would have liked to have gotten like another Indiana Jones, because my other Indiana Jones broke after my wonderful friends on the playground were playing monkey in the middle with my sole Indiana Jones action figure that was impossible to find, and I found it in one toy bin, far away from home, and I found an actual where he's in the actual Indiana Jones costume, because that they made the same amount of figures for all the characters, and all the one everybody wants is Indiana Jones, and they don't buy the other figures, and so us late in the game we're looking for Indiana Jones and we can't find him.
Well, yeah, I mean, who wants a Kate Capshaw or Kali Ma action figure?
Well, that's the thing, though. I don't. Did they make those? But when they made the Temple of Doom figures, though, they did bring out some, but they were oversized. They were weird, and I'm not buying these. Okay, I'm a kid. I get a $3 a week allowance. I'm not. My money's not going there. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the action figures. I do remember they had a Temple of Doom video game in the arcade. Do you remember that? And
I never played it. I played the. Was that made by Atari? Because I know they ported it to the PC.
It might have been. I don't know, but I just remember the one in the arcade, because after you died, it always said "Kalima will rule the world," and that's how you really? That's how you knew to put in another quarter.
I'm going to look that up on YouTube later. I did not know there was an arcade game for Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
I had the Lego Indiana Jones game for my Nintendo Wii, and later for the PlayStation, but. I also there was an Indiana Jones game for the Super Nintendo, which I didn't get until many years later, but it takes you through all three movies. I don't think I ever got to the Temple of Doom stages, though. I'm sure there was some Mode 7 stage to show off the Super Nintendo's Mode 7, and you were on mine carts. I'm sure that was a thing, okay? But, yeah, I always felt kind of shortchanged with all the Indiana Jones memorabilia, at least as far as toys went, because, like I said, they just did not bring it with the Temple of Doom toys. Oh, LeiaPlusSize is here.
Hi, Leia.
Hello, fellas. How you doing this evening?
Doing great.
That's great. Have you already started the film already? I was going to ask what part are we at?
We have not, because we're
fun issues.
Oh, I understand. That's no problem.
I don't. I'm not too happy, but it is what it is. So.
Well, I'm not hearing
Hey.
any feedback, so you might be able to go. If you can't listen to the movie though through the thing, you can at least watch it and put captions on. Daniel, I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
And Eric Wood says Lego Indiana Jones was excellent. I did not realize they actually made Indiana Jones Lego sets. I feel like I've missed part of my life now.
They did. I was tempted to get the minecart one. They made a minecart Lego Indiana Jones Lego set. I remember seeing it, and I had that. My hand was itching because I wanted it, but I said no, be good.
And Chris P asked you, did you ever play the old Atari version of Raiders of the Lost Ark? I did.
Oh yeah, I had that.
No, I didn't have that one. I had the Return of the Jedi Atari game for my Atari 800 computer, but I never got into the Indiana Jones games. Yeah, Indiana Jones kind of eluded me. I didn't, even when I had a Super Nintendo, I didn't get the Indiana Jones game because at that point I just gotten all 3 of the Star Wars games. So like, I'm not buying another one of these. So I waited. It was years later before I bought Indiana Jones for the Super Nintendo. So,
And
yeah.
Samuel Proctor backs up the Lego set. Chris P, I'm like the only person who missed out on this, I guess. Melissa Harris, everyone. And congrats, Melissa Harris, for your son getting married. That's always a happy occasion.
Cool. Congratulations.
Congrats to you, Melissa.
Yeah, congratulations.
And welcome, Princess Leia, to tonight to the show. Thank you for coming by. As always.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Zootopia. And y'all ready to start the film?
Oh yeah, anytime you're ready.
Okay.
I heard you fellas say when I was welcomed in that this is a prequel. You know, I never knew that. I never knew that. I always, all these years, I always thought it was just his next adventure. Did they just recently say it was a prequel? I mean, they changed these things so many years afterwards. I never knew that.
1935.
Yeah, it technically takes place a year before Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you're following the years. And it's interesting. My dad told me this too when he first saw it, because he was always found the year, I think, of Raiders of the Lost Ark interesting, because I think he was born in 36. Okay, so he told me. So of course he paid attention to those year dates. Okay, so and then of course 1935. He mentioned that to me as well. And I remember I didn't see this with my dad in the theater, unfortunately, because I was too young. But he came back, and one of my dad's favorite genres of movies was of course the musical, you know, the old school Hollywood musical, like the Fred Astaire or Ginger Rogers things. And then later on, they did the more lavish productions. And I was very excited because he said this Indiana Jones movie starts with a musical number. You know?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if this is why Lucas put that musical number into Jedi. Who's like trying to catch up to Spielberg.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, he added that in the special edition, didn't he? Of
Yeah.
Jedi. Oh, no. Well, for all I know, it was Lucas's idea to put this musical number in there. I don't know, though. Maybe it could have been Spielberg. So he's doing West Side Story, apparently. So go ahead, LeiaPlusSize.
I was going to say, when they were doing, and I thought I knew everything there is to know about this film, but when they were doing press for this film, I don't ever remember them saying it was a prequel. So that's very interesting to know, because usually, you know, when a director or writer or Harrison would tell you, when you listen to the press junkets, would tell you about the film, but I don't ever remember them mentioning that. So I mean, I hop on that, but that's just interesting to know, because I
don't remember them
I missed that.
talking about it too much.
You know, it's interesting, though. I kind of look at it this way. Like when you read the old Conan stories, they take place at different points in his life. The first Conan story may be when he's 30, next one when he's 20. Do you understand? And I think that was a pulp tradition. Like if you had a character, it would jump around in time a bit. And I think that's maybe why they did it that way, because they were billing this as a sequel. They were originally going to do a remake, which I thought was an odd thing when they said that. Why would you remake Raiders of the Lost Ark? Everybody loved it. And then they decided to go, well, just do a sequel instead. But then I guess it's technically takes place before. I don't know.
See, okay, but it still works for me. It still works for me.
I think Zootopia is making a point, though, that he's a little rougher around the edges in this movie. He's not quite the guy we know in Raiders of the Lost Ark yet, though, if you think about it when you're watching it. He is...
Yeah, I felt like they kind of took him back a step, kind of devolved him. If not devolve him, they gave him an arc in this movie that by the end of the movie, he seems a lot closer to the person who who is at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Right.
the original. So it wasn't like they made the same character. They took him, they made him learn a lesson that he then carries on into the next movie, which I think is how Spielberg directed it and how kind of Harrison Ford acted it. So I think I now that I'm older and watch these, I can appreciate that a little bit more.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. I would say so. I would say that he's not to where he's at in the Raiders movie.
He's a lot greedier.
Yeah. He's,
Yeah.
Chasing the fortune and glory.
Right. That's what I see it as. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a moment in this movie where he's all about the fortune and glory until he hears the children screaming.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was his changing point.
And I think at that point, he's like, I can't look the other way. I think he said that. I think basically he gets to that point, and it's like his character, it's children screaming. He can't look the other way, just as he didn't look the other way with Short Round. Okay. So he, even though he probably doesn't see himself as the hero, I think when that moment happens, yeah, he can't just look the other way.
And Eric Woods brings up a good point. They didn't want to have the National Socialist German Party as the villains the second time around either. So another reason to turn back the calendar a little bit.
And I think that's a good idea too. I don't think he should always be fighting. I mean, they're great villains in these movies, but I don't think they should always be the villains. And I think we have two really good sets of villains in this, one in the precursor sequence and also in the rest of the film.
Ultimate Indiana Jones villain.
Who, Lao Che? Oh, no. He's what?
Mala Ram.
Oh, Moa. No, I like Lao Che in this though in the beginning. No, he
ain't got that furry hat. I'm just saying.
But I made a joke, I think, when Professor Geek was doing the live stream of this, and I said, I sent a chat or whatever, and I said, Lao Che is my personal hero. And he's like, he didn't get the joke, I think. The whole point is he's so awful. You understand? It's like...
All right, let's start the film if we're ready.
Okay.
Go right ahead. I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Y'all ready? I'm at the 2 mark.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play whenever you say the row. Okay.
1, 2, 3, play. Got the old school Paramount logo. I mean, God, old school 1984.
Yeah. Of course, it always fades into something.
Which I like. I saw this on opening weekend when it opened because I was so excited about seeing it because I love, like everybody else, I loved Raiders so much that I was good and ready when this was opening up. I can still remember it. You've got classic films if you can remember the day and what you did and where you were when the film opened. And I went opening weekend, not on that Pacific Friday, but I think that Saturday I went.
Yeah, I mean, this was this was a huge deal when it came out. I remember I was a kid. I had seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think when I was 5 on home video, and I saw the Ark of the Covenant opening up scene and all the horrible things that happened, and I was a little chicken. Okay, so but they weren't going to take me to even a couple years later to go see Temple of Doom. Of course, I didn't think this one, even though there's some horrific stuff in it, it wasn't like the stuff from the Ark of the Covenant. I don't think that would have freaked me out as much as a kid as the stuff in Raiders. But very creepy movie though. This one though.
Yes, I was like you. Actually, I was young when I went to see Raiders, so don't feel bad because that opening up the Covenant it freaked me out as much, spooked me just as much. You're not alone. I look back on it now. It's cartoonish to adults, but as a kid, yeah, that was some scary stuff. But that's what I guess made the movie so cool was because Spielberg and Lucas were able to give us a couple of frights.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, the music in that scene too was terrifying too, though.
Right. Right.
I mean, we're talking about soundtracks. That really brings this up.
Yeah, I mean, as a
Capshaw trained to dance, and then the dress was too tight. She couldn't dance anymore.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
I made 3 versions of that dress, and one of them got eaten by an elephant.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And the film, and the elephant just came over and started chomping on it. And this was actually the last film that they did for the film, so they had to fix it as best they could.
Of the last shot for the film, this is what they filmed last.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's actually Kate Capshaw singing in Mandarin.
Very impressive. I don't know how involved was John Williams with the re-recording of that class as a classic song, right? And Anything Goes.
He orchestrated it, and in a couple minutes, he's going to work it into the action cue for the club fight scene.
Okay. It's interesting. I don't have the soundtrack to this movie, but I do have a soundtrack that has like select tracks done by I think some like a Prague orchestra of all the different tracks from the films, and they have both the Mandarin version but also an English version of the song on the CD. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I can sing the song in Mandarin. I can't sing it in English, though. I don't know the words.
The English the lyrics are kind of funny. You should listen to them sometime. They're it's all about how in the olden days, like certain things you would do now would not be tolerated. Like a slip of stocking and all this other stuff. It's horrendous. It's now anything goes because it's I guess the 20s or the 30s, and it's just shameful.
Yes, I would agree.
Here we have might be one of my favorite Indiana Jones villains, Lao Che.
Well, you know what? He didn't last long enough for me to really see him the way you did, Age Boomer. I wish perhaps it was a Temple of Doom extra fan cut, but I get your point. But I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be in the movie long enough. But I see why you see him as a villain. But he didn't stay there long enough for me. I wasn't sure if not he was going to be the main guy. I can see if he was the main guy, but after they leave,
I know.
Well, this is probably the most. I mean, the most you get so many quotes from this that people use today, or at least I do. With friends and stuff. From this conversation with them, I mean, how many times you say "I go first, Indy," and I love that quote. And too much to drink, Dr. Jones. I mean,
yeah,
say that all the time on going out with people on Saturday night.
But now he wants the diamond. I mean, does the diamond have archaeological value? He's giving away the ashes of the first Manchurian emperor, right?
Yeah, I think it's part of the Fortune and Glory arc.
Yeah, I don't know if he's caring about sticking this thing in a museum. He just wants the money. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this too. The Manchurians, I always notice in a lot of kung fu movies I watch from the 70s, the Manchurians are always bad. Like when the Manchurian dynasty takes over, everything goes to pot basically, and they're the big villains. So it would make sense that the villains in this would want to be getting the first Manchurian emperor because they're always portrayed as the villains in a lot of these kung fu movies I watch. So.
And when this scene began and he came down in the white jacket, I felt a 0075. So now I see where the influence 007 on both these directors, because I know Indiana Jones sped out the chance that Spielberg wanted to direct a 007 film, but he couldn't. And I think Lucas said, one of them said, I thought something better than 007. And so I'm wondering, was that the 007 influence to Spielberg? Because when the Indiana Jones was conceived, Spielberg wanted to direct a Bond film, but at the time they didn't want an American director directing a Bond movie, I think.
What?
And Spielberg, and still to this day, he's never been allowed to direct a Bond movie.
I think the reason though we do see him in this white jacket is because we're waiting for Indiana Jones to show up, and he's looking very un-Indiana Jones like. He's not in his he's not in the leather jacket and the hat. He's wearing like well, that's dinner thing.
I still to this day. I mean, when I saw this as a kid, that's how I picture a tuxedo. That's how I picture that. Like that's like the top of the line tuxedos you can get is with the white coat, which of course I appreciate Birdman dressing up for the occasion in that. So to me, this is that's what a tuxedo should be.
Yes, Birdman, you're looking very dapper. Thank you.
I break out the white too often because of the dogs.
I see.
Very, yeah, oh, sorry, very dangerous scene though. I mean, Indy's in trouble here. Yeah, go ahead though. I didn't interrupt Leia, but yeah.
No, I agree with you. I was going to say I tried very hard to like Kate Capshaw in this movie, and I just had a hard time doing it. I feel for her because she's an actress. She's doing what the script requires her to do. But Willie was really a step back from Marion. And I tried to, I said, Ford, he'll find the way to get the chemistry. But when she first showed up, I said, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this chick. I tried very hard to like her. But
the script did not do her any favors in this. They didn't punch up the female role very well in this one.
Now, does that bother anybody? Because that never bothered me.
Bothered what?
The guy getting skewered with the
that's a horrifying way to die. That's how you know Indiana Jones. He's not some pushover. He's just skewered a guy with a flaming kebab. Okay. Oh my word.
I actually like this sequence. I actually do. I like how they get right to the action like the first one, but this time, he's in a tuxedo. So there's a part of me that was waiting for them. It was going to go, rip the jacket off and just, get back to what he's used to. But I actually liked the sequence. I thought it was
This is my favorite opening scene of all of the Indiana Jones films. I like this one a lot.
Because I think it plays to all of Harrison's strength, the action and also his comedic timing with Indy, which I love and audiences love. I love how he plays up the humor with it.
John Williams just brought in the anything goes into the action music.
Yeah, and the composure. Femin, I'm going to say you've probably seen these videos, but I found these videos on YouTube that breaks down some of John Williams' favorite scenes and his process of how he scored them. And then the narrator talks about how the music plays into the character. And it starts with the Star Wars series, a little bit of Indiana Jones, and I don't know how you care about Lord of the Rings, but it also talks about Howard Shore. And what I got out of it was it gave me a whole new perspective on Princess Leia's theme from Star Wars. It uses the video to see how Williams inculcates her score in all three of the good Star Wars films. So I'll link that to you a little bit later. It's very fascinating. I had a whole new appreciation for it. Well,
but this film, I think there's probably more themes in this Indiana Jones film than there probably are in the other two or three, depending on how you count. There's the Raiders theme, of course, Short Round's theme, and the Slave Children's theme, which I think that gets more playtime than the Raiders March in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Short Round's theme's coming up in a second. I'll point it out. But to me, musically, this is more Short Round's movie than it is Indiana's movie because his theme is just that much more prominent. I know Eric Woods has discussed this at length. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments.
Well, I think I get what you're saying, because if you listen to the end credits or the end credit score, you do hear his theme mixed in, and then Indy's theme comes in like at the end. So he mixes it together. So I say it's both their adventure from the way I'm looking at it. When I hear it, especially when I hear it at the end credits, you do hear his score. And you're right. And then his score dies down, and then the traditional Raiders score comes back in. I like the way John Williams did that. Eric Woods, I was just reading his comment right quick. I do agree she's the damsel in distress, but maybe about that time, good old me was getting into the action female, not the way they have it now. But I just was in a million, and I guess this was a damsel in distress. Maybe she was too in distress. I don't know, but I see his point. I see his point with what he's saying. But I think another one, a lot of fans that I talked to didn't take to her too well. Maybe because about this time, the role of a woman in an action film was starting to change. And even though she is in distress, she's not as distressed as she claims to be. I think Carrie Fisher talked about this a couple of years ago before she passed away, about how she saw Princess Leia. And that she was in distress, but not in a traditional way. So maybe that's why I just didn't take to her that much. I was just on his comment. I didn't mean to throw anybody off, but
No,
yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Willie again, right? And I think they're trying to make her the opposite of Marion, right?
Right. I got that.
Because Marion would be perfectly in her own element in this scene. Okay, she'd probably be helping him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Am I wrong here? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I get the feeling like, okay, in Raiders, Marion, even if she were in trouble, she would have figured out a way to get out of it. I don't feel like Willie, if she were in trouble without Indiana Jones, she would not be figuring her way to get out of this.
Right.
So
Exactly.
What's that?
Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dan Aykroyd.
I didn't know this till after the movie. I didn't know that till after the movie came out. That was Dan Aykroyd. See what I was paying attention to. But that shows what a good actor, how Dan Aykroyd can.
Well, they never shoot his face dead on, so you only kind of get profiles and seeing him from a little bit behind. So you don't. It really wasn't until years later that I even knew that was Dan Aykroyd, and that was because I read it somewhere where they said, "Oh, Dan Aykroyd was in that movie." I'm like, he was not in that movie, and so I had to look it up and figure out where he was. But yeah, they never show him straight on. By the way, Steven Spielberg made a cameo in Dan Aykroyd's movie, The Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I remember that cameo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just saying I get so exhilarated watching this intro scene.
Yeah, I mean this theme is it's my second favorite John Williams score, and it feels like you're going on an adventure. I mean, it just feels like you are that you're about to do something exciting or something exciting has just happened and it's going on, and then the way that they just frame it around the action pieces is just absolutely perfect.
Oh, Daniel
what's your favorite John Williams score?
Superman.
Okay.
Good choice. John Williams.
Yeah,
it's
I
hard.
listen to that and I feel like I can fly.
That's my favorite. I'm trying to think what my second one. I think my second one could be Close Encounters, but I'm not sure. I'd have to revisit that one.
My number one John Williams score must absolutely have to be the Star Wars theme. It's just
Right.
it absolutely Star Wars. Just hearing it blows me out the water. The Superman theme is a close second, Zootopia, because it achieves exactly what you just said, giving you a feeling of flight, and it just sounds just like the hero that's ready to save the day. And I never got that feeling again until I saw the first Avenger movie and I heard Cap's Steve Rogers theme. But yeah, I think 1 and 2 would have to be, and then Raiders score would come in third. So those are like my top 3 John Williams scores.
Yeah, I love. I think Superman number 1, Indiana Jones is number 2, and I love Jaws. I think that Jaws is it just creeps you out. I think that's probably my number 3, but it's amazing, and I don't know how he does it. I don't know if he is broken some sort of. You probably know this better, Birdman. How is John Williams able to do this for all of these movies over so many decades? Does he have a formula? What does he do?
Family. He's written music his entire life. He plays, I forget how many instruments. When you're just that immersed in something, you just do it. But if you listen to him talk, he's always amazed that people like his music that much. He's like, he says repeatedly in interviews, I thought most of my scores weren't particularly that good. And it's just like, wow. Okay. I don't know.
I hope he's being humble.
Yeah, he's very
being humble.
Man you will ever meet. Very humble.
And I also forgot he scored Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love that score to Jurassic Park. I mean, this guy just he's is he scoring Indy 5? Because I heard somewhere in here he's going to retire.
I think he's retired after the Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Because he's got to be mid to late 80s by now.
No, but he did say he was scoring Indy 5, I thought, didn't he?
Did he?
I thought it was in the news. He was going to come back for
Good
Indy
for
5.
him.
Well,
Keep
but
going.
he's 89 people.
Okay.
So
89.
Well,
but it's amazing he's able to accomplish.
I'm just being realistic. He's 89. So
I think Harrison Ford is 89 too. He's getting up there.
But it's sad because I don't know if there's too many composers that are going to have the track record he has. Maybe Howard Shore, perhaps, but this is you appreciate, this is something that's missing for movies. A good composer that understands how the music plays into the story, into the character. Don't see, like, again, I didn't get that feeling again until I saw the first Avenger, the Captain America First Avenger, that I got that feeling again that somebody the music, they understand the music with the character.
Yeah, I mean, can anybody, do you even remember what the score is for the new Justice League or Zack Snyder's? I don't.
No.
Is that Zimmerman? Because I don't like the way he does his scores too much, but I don't remember it at all. You're right.
Or even like I watched Godzilla versus Kong. If there's any movie or series of movies that screams having a big, huge orchestra give a soundtrack, it's those types of movies, and I don't remember the music from them. And I just think it's a lost art, or at least they're not emphasizing that as much. And I think a third of these Indiana Jones movies is just the soundtrack. Is just the music that they use and when they use it, that make it so exciting and so fun to watch. And but yeah, I don't watch Justice League or Godzilla versus Kong and say, "Oh, that's a memorable score."
I'm trying to think the last big Hollywood movies I saw that had a big memorable. Well, actually, I'm sure I'll think of something.
I think more of them are doing. They're taking the Guardians of the Galaxy route, and they're using old music or popular music or stuff like that. They're not coming up with their own score. And hopefully, once we get past all of this new age stuff that they're putting into films and stuff, that at some point in time, somebody is just going to do a kick-ass movie that ignores what's going on in the world now, that everybody's just going to go out and enjoy, and hopefully that will start some new examination of how they do scores and things. We might be 5 or 10 years away from that, but I'm looking forward to that. When somebody says, remember when movies used to be fun, let's go back and do one of those.
I'm hoping that'll happen. People were ranting even recently about the Academy Award nominations. I mean, Bill Maher had a rant saying that the Oscars need to change the name to the Debbies to Debbie Downer, and it's like, he's like, which I find funny coming from him. So even he's starting to feel it too. So
I don't really care for. I'm sorry, I don't really care for Moore at all. But I found myself agreeing with him on that, which is very rare.
Yeah.
And you made the point to Zootopia about this being a lost art.
Movies were such a huge deal back then, and this didn't break the bank to make. I mean, it wasn't a cheap film. I mean, this was considered a blockbuster at the time, but I mean, they didn't have the overblown budget like a lot of today's blockbusters have.
Like 27.
I was going to say, I don't know how much money this made and where it ranks.
Something.
You need a timestamp?
No. I was saying the budget for this was like 27.
Oh, okay.
28.17, and the box office was 331.1 worldwide.
Back then, that was considered blockbuster money. Back in the day, back then, because it was the talk of the town. I think it was the movie. I think it was released around not summer, but right before Memorial Day. I can't quite remember. You have the release date on when this was released, but that was considered blockbuster. I know the night that I went, it was crowded. This is also the first indie film I saw with my whole family. The first film, I was with my dad, but this one, my mother decided to go along, and she wasn't sure she was going to like it. She didn't like these kinds of films, but came out of it loving it, and she became a Harrison Ford fan afterwards. She told me she loved every minute of it after she came out of it. But she wasn't sure, I guess said, well, she loves it. Talking about me as my daughter loves it, but then she came out convinced, and she actually wants to see Indy 5. When it was announced, Indy 5, she says, I would like to see it.
I'm sure my mom's the same way. She's going to want to go see it, yeah.
she said she would like to see it. I said, Mom, you and Harrison, my mom and Harrison, about the same age, but she said, I still want to see it anyway. So I said, oh, okay, we'll see. So I'm like what you guys talking earlier. I wish I could be excited about Indy 5, but I'm in quoting Luke Skywalker, a bad feeling about this because it's still under the dark regime of Kathleen. So I'm not so sure. So
Well, we'll see what happens.
So I'll say that.
Thank you, Eric Woods. I'll consider it. The How to Train Your Dragon series. Thank you.
It's a score by John Powell. It won the Academy Award, if I remember correctly, for the first one. But it's a very, very strong score. And anything by Bear McCreary is worth listening to. Battlestar Galactica, I can't sing the praises of that enough.
Oh, yeah.
But also Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I don't know why he didn't do Kong versus Godzilla. I thought for sure that would have been a slam dunk deal for him. But they got Junkie XL to do it. So I have mixed feelings on Junkie XL, but it's not quite my style.
Well, it's back to what I think, Adrian, what you said. I think that they're getting away from someone sitting down and composing music to just trying to put together a score that is mixed up of popular music, which is not bad, but I still think you need a score, and that's what they're missing. There's a lot of lack of talent in Hollywood right now. I know there's got to be some creative composers out there that are able to do like John Williams, get that movie and then start to score to it. So you still need that. Again, I would have to admit, and I hate to go back to it, but I think the Captain America movies are the Marvel films, really, to me, with the best soundtracks, score, musical score wise. That's the last time, I felt. But there are other pictures as well, and I like the score to Inception. That was a good score.
Cool. I think I remember who did the score to Justice League. I think wasn't that Danny Elfman?
Danny Elfman did the Josh Whedon cut. Junkie XL did the Snyder cut.
Oh, that's so weird. Okay, 2 different scores. Okay. Now, I remember the music in this scene is very ominous, right? Do you remember what the name of this track was, Daniel?
Well, it's not on the original soundtrack, and we do not have a complete score release yet, but that's another video right there. They're going to introduce the slave children theme here pretty soon, but it's going to be very subdued from what it will be later in the film. And it'll be very sorrowful, and it will end up being triumphant at the end of the movie, which is a nice transition over the course of the film.
Yes.
Where's my internet?
Now, I am going to say one little inconsistency between this one and Raiders, okay? This one takes place before Raiders, right?
Right.
Yes.
He's already had exposure to the supernatural in this movie, okay?
Oh, yeah.
But
read the book, his entire life.
Because I'm just saying, because when we get to Raiders, he's almost, I don't want to say, but he's almost not taking the arc as seriously in the very beginning of the movie as he is. Well, he is at the end, but obviously, but I would figure he would have based on what he's seen up until now. But maybe that's just me misreading it. I don't know.
No, that's a good observation. That's why I said it shocked me that this is a prequel, because in the Raiders film, usually a character will mention something that opens the door that he's been on previous adventures. But I do understand, because in Raiders, he's very dismissive of the supernatural powers. It's like he has to be convinced. If this was consistent, he would be not as dismissive because of this experience he has here in India. So it makes me wonder, did the prequel idea come as they were writing Temple of Doom, and maybe it was just a last minute thing they just didn't really think about?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, like I said, it's nitpicking. I probably shouldn't be nitpicking, but yeah.
I know the original idea for this was it was going to be Lucas wanted to set it in China, and he wanted to have he had a vision of having a motorcycle chase scene on top of the Great Wall of China. But they were never the Chinese government wouldn't allow it, so that's when he switched it over to India.
I like India as a setting though, because I mean, this especially because you get to see the jungle. Okay, I mean, typically when I think of jungle, I think South America, Africa, but India, of course, the Jungle Book. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's big on the jungle, and I like the fact we get that jungle sequence in this, and especially with Willie freaking out, and he says that's why they call it the jungle, sweetheart. It's like,
I correct myself. I was wrong. How to Train Your Dragon did not win the Academy Award that year. It was the Social Network. Eric Woods was correct. Thank you for correcting me. And I am shocked and appalled that the Social Network beat out How to Train Your Dragon.
I'm trying to remember the score to that movie.
I don't remember it at all.
I think it was an odd sounding score. I remember that. But anyway, I have to rewatch it.
Risner, the guy from like 9 Inch Nails or whatever.
Oh, Trent Reznor. That's probably why it sounded odd. Yeah.
It's won this year for was it Soul, the cartoon movie?
I have no idea who won this year. I didn't watch any piece of the awards. I didn't even know they were on. And then when I looked at the list of winners, some of those movies I hadn't even seen yet. So I really don't know.
I found out when they were on just so that I could purposely ignore them.
I would imagine Soul would probably have a good score though, because it's based around jazz, right? So that might be an interesting score. That's actually a movie I kind of want to see, actually. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been sitting on Disney Plus since Christmas, but I've never watched it.
Right.
I haven't watched it, period. Yeah, me neither. I just haven't got around to it. I don't know why. I just haven't got around to it.
I do. I really hope movie theaters open up again this summer and IMAX opens, because I love watching movies in IMAX and getting out there and sitting there with your popcorn and it draws you into the movie a lot more than watching it for the first time at home on your TV.
Oh yeah,
that's what I love about movies, is that they draw you in, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh wait, you kind of shake your head. Oh, I've been into the movie so much, I'm really enjoying it because it draws you in, and I miss that feeling.
I remember seeing Finding Nemo on the big screen. If we're talking about Pixar movies, and of course, it being underwater, that really drew you in when you saw it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Zootopia, I absolutely agree with you, which is why people should not totally put all their trust in just being at home and just for streaming. I want to go into a theater and see a movie and experience it myself. I'm like you, I want theaters to open up again, because people are like, well, that's the end of the theater. I said, I certainly hope not. No, I don't want every movie that comes out. I don't want to watch it at home all the time. I want to get out with other fans or with my friends and family and sit with my popcorn and be taken away. That's the point. And I was always like that. Even when I was a child, my friends didn't want to come with me to the movies that much, because they would come and they just want to gab and talk, but I would be sitting there totally absorbed into the film and into the storytelling process. So those 2 hours, when those doors close and those lights go down, I just want to be taken away. And I think that's what movies are supposed to do. And now people are realizing I can't get that at home. Yeah, I'm at home, but I can't get that home when I'm on the big screen in the theater. So I feel the same way you. I hope the theaters open up again, because I would definitely go back and see one.
Go ahead, finish.
No, I was done. I said I'm one of those that, yeah, you got streaming, but I don't rely totally on it. I want to go out into a theater and experience a movie on the big screen.
Yeah, I'm becoming more convinced that I think studios, and of course that their revenue streams were reliant on what they got at the box office, and measure of success was how much money does it make at the box office. But I think more and more studios are going to look at 4, 5, 6 streams of revenue, which includes theaters, streaming, video on demand, and they're going to base their budgets and whether or not a movie is a success based on 4 factors and how much money it makes across those platforms, rather than just how much money it makes in the theaters. So I think that's why you can see, like, they just announced, was it today or yesterday, that they're going to do a sequel to Godzilla versus Kong. I think that based on the money that it's made in the theaters, I don't think that would justify having a sequel. But I think if they're looking at now the theater and how many subscribers they're getting to HBO Max and how much money it's going to make on video on demand, that they're looking at that a lot more seriously as to how they're going to make money. And this, by the way, is one of my favorite scenes with the with Willie and the bat and all that.
I don't know if you know this, but his mom took his older brother in the audition for the part, and Kwan Quinn, I'm probably saying that wrong, was telling his brother how to do it, and Steven Spielberg said, "Hey, why don't you try out for it?" And they brought in Harrison Ford, and Steven told Kwan Quinn, "Just play poker with him and figure out you're being cheated in the process." And that's what he did, and he got the part, and then they put it in the film.
Oh, awesome!
But it's a great scene.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah, that's how I think Steven Spielberg talked about that. That's how.
I heard that story before.
But it's also a wonderful scene for establishing the closeness of their relationship.
Oh yeah, I've always wondered. I know that there have been other stories and stuff and expanded universe tales of Short Round, but I really wanted to see what happened to him in the third or fourth film.
Yeah, could we not have like a name drop in the third film, like he's off at boarding school?
Yeah.
Or can he not have come into like a fourth film?
No, he died off screen. I'm trying to think of the Ryan Johnson way to do it. Anyway, though.
Thanks for subverting my expectations, Ryan.
By the way, I want to make a point, though. That dress, that Willie still has the dress from the club. It was attached to the elephant. I saw it earlier. She has held on to that dress through the whole movie, I think. It was an expensive dress, I guess, but still. It's like...
No one heard you. And that goes back to Zootopia. I just want to flip back to your point that that about Willie and Marion, and I do agree. I don't know if you said that or I saw it in the chat, but someone said that with Marion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whoever said it. Yeah, she would figure out a way how to get out of a situation, whereas Willie would just completely rely on Indy. And I think at that time, again, we wanted, I'm thinking of my generation, we didn't mind the damsel in distress, but we also wanted that heroine to be able to defend herself, to try to get out of it, and to try to help Indy like she can. And I just didn't get that from her. So maybe I was young, or maybe I was becoming a product of what was going on in the 80s with women in action films. Not like it is today. Today they want to compete with the man, but the she would find a way to get out of it, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I really like the scene where he's all brave. The snake comes and he just that's why. Yep. He just, and I don't blame him. That's what I loved about him in the first film, because I can't stand those creatures. And I like the fact you have a hero that absolutely panics when he sees the snake. I love that about him.
We all have something that freaks us out, something from the world that freaks us out. For me, it's like bees and wasps. I don't like them at all. But what did I want to make a point about?
I was talking about Willie and Marion, and why I just didn't take to Willie like I wanted to.
I'm going to say she just gave that story. Was she talking about her grandfather, about he was a magician and made a lot of kids very happy, but didn't make a lot of money? And I'm thinking, he sounds like a nice man. Why are you talking trash about him? Yeah, I was making that point. It's like, oh no, he made kids happy. That's the worst thing in the world for someone to do.
You're an entertainer. You're both entertainers. What's your problem?
That's right.
Well, I'm going to be a big star. I'm going to be on Broadway. That's probably what she's thinking. Okay.
Yeah. That's probably what she's saying. I agree.
I also wanted to mention, I don't know if Troy is listening to this or not, but I watched all three of the Indiana Jones movies the other month. It was probably around Christmas time on Netflix. They had them on there. Mm-hmm. And I rewatched this one, Temple of Doom, last night in preparation for tonight, but I watched my Blu-ray copy. How much better my Blu-ray copy is than what they show on Netflix or any other streaming service. So Troy is right. I heard him on your show, Geeky Geezers, on Sunday, extol physical media. And yeah, everybody just they need to invest in a good player and start buying physical media, because it's the best way to see and hear films. And I'm a big proponent of it, and I know Troy is too. And I fear it's becoming lost art, and hopefully it won't become a niche market, and people will keep wanting to invest it, because my Blu-rays just leaps and bounds ahead of what they have on Netflix.
This is interesting. So you're saying that the video quality on the Blu-ray was a lot better than what you were seeing streaming?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. These I haven't picked up on Blu-ray. I have the DVDs that were released around the time of Crystal Skull. I may do an upgrade at some point, but that's interesting that the video quality is better. It kind of reminds me back in the days of cable, how you'd watch something on cable, and for whatever reason, the video quality was worse than if you were sometimes worse than if you were watching a videotape you had, because it's like I don't know if the cable stations were intentionally making the picture as weak as possible. I don't know.
Yeah,
and by the 4K releases.
Yeah, they are.
To come out.
Oh, go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
The 4K releases for all 4 films come out in June.
Oh, do they? Okay. Yeah, I haven't upgraded to a 4K player yet, but that's probably coming soon.
My Xbox can actually play 4K DVDs. I don't have a 4K TV though, so I'm not going to bother with a 4K player until 4K DVDs until I get one, and I'm not in a rush because I'm fine with 1080p. But it is cool that actually that 4K is being supported though. In fact, one of my favorite movies, Suspiria, got a great Blu-ray release a couple years ago, but then they actually went to the trouble of making it 4K as well, so bringing out a 4K version. So. And 4K can sometimes give a new lease to life. Like if there was a bad Blu-ray release, like apparently the Top Gun Blu-ray release was not well received picture-wise.
Really?
But when they re-released it recently on 4K Blu-ray, they also re-released it on regular Blu-ray, and that Blu-ray that came out is still better picture quality than the previous Blu-ray because they were going with the master done for 4K. So it does help.
Yeah, I always I appreciate artists and directors and producers and movie studios that put in the time and effort to put out their best product, and so I always like to reward that by buying the physical media.
Yeah, maybe I will upgrade the Blu-ray. Go ahead.
I agree with you both. Zootopia, I agree 100%. I am investing in as much physical media as I can, because of the fact that they're trying to do away with physical media. But I still think, I agree with you, I still like to watch my favorite films on DVD or Blu-ray. I am not totally putting all my eggs in one basket of streaming. So yeah. I'm definitely going to invest myself in some good physical media before the year is out, as they slowly, little by little, which I think is not good to do, but they want to get everyone to rely heavily on streaming, which is why I think they're doing it. But I would still tell everyone, for films that you really, really love, get some physical media and a good player to play it on. I definitely plan to do that.
Yeah. Samuel Proctor is right. Yeah, they can only hold so much detail. Hopefully,
I agree.
In the future they'll get better, but not right now.
I agree. Absolutely agree with that. Eric Woods at the comment. I'm getting the feeling Eric Woods is good appreciation for Willie. He had a previous comment
I don't know
about
unfair to compare Willie to Marion, which I know we all do, because it's a separate time, it's a separate film, and I agree with that. I also think if you didn't have the character of Willie to bring some levity, this movie's such a heavy film, and you need her to be a goofball. I think in this film, someone's got to be the fish out of water in this film. Otherwise, it's damn dark. And that's cool.
That's
cool.
A lot of people. Yeah, I agree with that.
You got to have the character of Willie in this film, or it just gets way too dark. I think.
I'm gonna get yelled at, but I might out of the 3 Indiana Jones women, I might have gone with Willie.
I'd go with Marion any day, but God, Karen Allen is just so adorably beautiful.
Yeah, I have to go with Karen Allen because she's equal to Indy, but not overtake his. She doesn't take away from his masculinity. Because I always thought she did kind of bring him down to earth a little bit, a few times in a few scenes, which I can't think of the top of my head. But I would have to go with Marion.
In the film.
What?
Yeah, Marion hits Indiana twice in Raiders of the Lost Ark. She smacks him across the jaw on the bar, and then she hits him in the head with the mirror on the ship.
Which I thought was funny.
Well, that was accidental, though.
Yeah, that was accidental.
Okay, here we have the dinner scene. I have thoughts on this.
You go first.
This is my thought on this. In my opinion, I know people love this scene. I don't. It drives me nuts.
You don't like this?
No, and I have a reason, and I know why they did it. In Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, when Khan gives his exposition about the episode Spacey, it explains the thing that happened before. He's telling it, but there's also the thing where they're about to get those things stuck in the ears. So you have to have something else going on in the scene when you're delivering the exposition. This is an exposition scene. They're talking about the Thuggy cult, okay? And of course, all this stuff. So we have to have something else going on to make the scene more interesting. So we have the snake surprise and the eyeball soup and the Beatles. The Beatles I might have actually tried, I'll be honest with you. I know, granted, Bugman's becoming a thing now, but I would have actually tried these. I would think maybe it's like crab, that's how I would have looked at it. But anyway, okay.
Well, my nephew, when I showed it to him for the first time when he was young in the 90s, thought the scene was rocked. Said, oh, it was cool. But I was like, no, your aunt didn't like this when she went to theater to see it. But he thought, oh, I like it was gross. Okay. But Age Boomer, you're right. It's an exposition scene, but they've got to break away so we don't doze off. But I was eating popcorn when all this stuff was happening in the theater. I'm like, oh.
This was my scene. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say this was my favorite scene as a kid, just because it's gross.
Yes, it's something. I think it's a male thing because my nephew was the same way. Zootopia, the same way you are. I showed it to him. He loved it. He said, "Oh, it's so cool. It's gross. I like it."
Like I kind of rolled my eyes. Like the British guy he's kind of throwing the sticks around, and he's not even paying attention. He's like, I'm too interested in what's going on with the I guess he's not hungry because he's too excited about fortune and glory. I don't want to eat eyeballs. Come on. Where'd those eyeballs come from? That's not a delicacy, is it? In that part of the world? I hope not.
Now, in this scene, I meant to say in the theater, when Indy comes out all looking like a professor, I think my dad leaned over to me in the theater and said, "Hey, why is he looking all cleaned up?" My dad, well, he's a professor, Dad. My family called me the Indy expert because they knew how much I loved Raiders. And at that time, Harrison Ford was like my hero. He was my boss. If his name was on the ticket in a film, I knew I was going to get a good movie. So my whole family.
Yeah. I still my favorite stunt of all time in any movie is still in Raiders when he goes underneath the truck. And
I agree with you.
Wonderful. I mean, I remember watching that as a kid, and I was fascinated by that. I was like, holy cow, I want to do that. Glad I never did, but
I agree with you 100%. I think it's one of the best stunts of all time. And why? Because it's been copied. You see it in so many movies. I see that scene in the film. So I totally agree with you. That blew me away. And to know Harrison did that was even better. Because there was a TV special that came on TV where he showed you how he did it. And I agree with you. I think it was one of the best stunt scenes and most copied. I think an episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier had a similar scene in one of their episodes with Barnes on a truck. So I agree with you. I think it's a classic. You don't see stunts like that today too much. I see it copied, but not something original. People try to copy it.
Yeah, I always wondered what chilled monkey brains tasted like. I always thought, for some reason, I always thought it was cherry.
Yeah, funny. I'm not eating that. I'm not eating brains, period. I don't care what animal they belong to.
Me too. Me too.
That reminds me of a scene from The Salton Sea with brains, but I'll talk about that some other time.
Okay, well, we're about to get a next version of Willie's theme, which will lead into some like very Bernard Herrmann murdering strings here in about 3 minutes.
Oh yes, yeah. That scene was neat too.
The green apples.
I get it.
There you go. There's some fruit.
Anybody know?
What?
Do they have apples in India?
Well, even if they didn't, I'm sure they can grow plants there. Yeah, if they weren't native, they could grow the trees there, right?
It's like apples are like.
Isn't he like a Maharaja? He could get access. I mean, back in the I don't know back then, but I know even if going back to 1800s, you're watching Christmas Carol and the kids are looking longingly at the oranges in the window because that was like considered a big delicacy because who knows where they're coming from, and of course the poor people can't afford the oranges, But like, it's not like today where you can find fruit everywhere, But even if they aren't native to that part of the world, he's the Maharaj. He can get what he wants, right?
Exactly. I would imagine, yeah, he would. Like I said,
I've just asked the internet gas, and they say that they do have apples in India.
There you go. Yeah, see, they probably got apples there. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of green apples, though. Of course, I'd probably eat those over monkey brains. So,
never know. Maybe they taste like apples.
Yeah. Well, No, it's not happening.
I promise if you ever show up at my doorstep, I will not feed you chilled monkey's brains.
Well, thank you. I'd appreciate that. She called him a conceited ape. What?
This kind of okay. I think that scene here, Lucas is going back to his Star Wars script because it reminds me of Han and Leia and Leia's scruffy, looking nerf herder and scoundrel. It's a similar scene. So I'm seeing how Lucas writes. It's a similar scene in Empire Strikes Back when Leia calls him a pilot, and eventually, of course, he wins her over. But it's similar in the writing. And then Leia calls him a scoundrel. But he wins Leia over in that one. This one, not that easy with her. But it's a similar scene, so I can say, yep, that's Lucas writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's Lucas writing romance.
The string work during this scene is very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not the London Symphony, by the way. I grew up thinking it was the London Symphony, but it's not. It's the studio orchestra.
How do you guys feel? There was a rumor at one time to reboot this series, but take Indy younger, and they were thinking Chris Pratt. And I'm going to confess, I actually wouldn't mind that choice because I think Pratt is sort of from the school of Harrison Ford style acting. So if they want to do Indy in his young ways, I wouldn't have mind Chris Pratt doing it. Maybe a younger version of Indy in the early 30s or 40s or whatever, because I think Pratt's style is kind of similar to Ford. Ford, what made these films work is Ford is a unique actor, and I always say you can't copy uniqueness, meaning you can't really, too many people can play the roles he's played because what he brings to it. He has a unique style to his acting. But I always thought Chris Pratt, you know what? I would have accepted that. I don't know what anybody else.
I can picture him wearing the jacket and the hat, and I just don't think Kathleen Kennedy would ever let that happen. I think that she would. She's trying to destroy those types of male hero characters, and I just don't think she'd ever let him do that, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah, which is unfortunate because of her tight claws. And I mean claws literally because she's not human.
Okay.
She goes into her dungeon afterwards to keep up her spell, to keep herself young while she can inflict evil pain on all of us. Okay, I digress in my ranting.
Okay. You wanted to read Eric Wood's comment, Daniel, or maybe not? I don't know.
Lucas Film should do is a Disney Plus animated series to further adventures of Indiana Jones. I'd be on board with that.
Would it be like done by the same team that did the Clone Wars series, that sort of thing? I don't know.
I mean, I think you've got enough characters in the 3 films. Originally, Captain Bloomberg in this film had a larger role, but it got cut.
You know what
You could see him meet Indiana in Germany or Poland or anywhere in Europe in World War II, easy, or even in the 1950s. Bring back Short Round up in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. Bring back Sala. You could have Belloc prior to 1936. You can have Marion after 1936. God, there's so much you could do with that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one thing. They did a young Indiana Jones series, and I don't think they ever had Belloc on it. And I was always hoping that he would have shown up on it, and like maybe they'd meet up and they wouldn't be enemies at the time. Oh, you're Belloc. You're also interested in archaeology. You understand? And then you get the betrayal at the end of the episode or whatever, and then he'd be like his constant rival. You know, you could have done that and had him come on in a couple of episodes later too, and you know.
Although I kind of get the feeling that Belloc probably came from like old European money, and Indiana did not come from old money. So I think Belloc probably had.
But Indy did not come from a. I think his father was very respectable. From what I understood. Yeah. So, oh look at that.
Oh goodness!
I remember being a kid.
Oh, you had to catch that one. Eric Woods had a great comment earlier, Daryl, about the score for that scene we just saw. He said there was a score for the romance and sexual tension. Yeah, right there. That's a good call, Eric. That you broke that down really good. That's why Williams is a genius.
I'm thinking I was around Short Round's age when this movie came out. And I'm going to say this. I think he's one of the few kid companions I've seen in movies that actually doesn't annoy me, and he actually adds a lot to the film. And I'm almost wondering, like when you're a kid, like when you become like a teenager, you're going for the girl, right? But no, when you're a kid, I want the treasure. Okay, you know, when you're a young boy, that's what this is sort of reminding me of, like when he's ignoring Willie to get to find the secret passage and stuff. You know?
I agree. That's a good call, H. Boomer. Most films, kids sidekicks are annoying as or brats, like in the Mummy film. It's like the Mummy film.
Yes,
he's a brat. But he's one kid that did not ignore me. I actually enjoyed his performance. So Spielberg, they say Spielberg has back then had a good eye for kid talent.
Mm-hmm.
He really knew how to find children and bring out the best in them. He worked well with children. That's why E.T. worked, because he worked well with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was right, because Short Round was not annoying at all. I agree with you. He added to the film. He didn't take away from it. I do too, Melissa. I miss Escapist. Okay. Well, now it was Willie. Okay. It is a great film. I do. Everyone misses Escapist entertainment. That's why I think the Marvel films were successful for what like they were, because they were escapist entertainment, and now we miss it.
Yeah. Well, I think too, the fact that the whole theaters were shut down didn't help matters either. And it's like we're just waiting for something.
Oh, I didn't like this scene either. Oh, good Lord. And you know, they used real bugs.
Those are bugs. Yeah.
Those are actually real. Oh, goodness. When I saw this, I had nightmares all night.
This might have freaked me out more than the snakes, I'll be honest with you. Because snakes, of course, can strike in venom, but I don't know. Bugs, I'm not a fan of bugs. And of course, I live in a very buggy state too. So,
So that would have been, this scene would have been your freak out moment. He had the snakes, but you saw the bugs.
I don't like bugs. I mean, I can deal with them, but I really don't like them. And yeah, especially the ones that sting, like scorpions. No, thank you. Okay.
Do you have scorpions down there?
That's a good question. I don't know. We probably do. We probably have everything down here, but I'm more used to thinking those are in desert climates, but of course this isn't a desert. I don't know. I'm not a bug expert.
So if you had to, in order to get to the treasure, you had to go through one room, one filled with snakes, one filled with bugs, and one filled with rats. Which one do you go through?
Oh God, I think I would pick the bugs. And I know that doesn't make any sense considering my thing, but I know with snakes and actually, I don't know. No, I might do the rats. No, I do the rats.
Think the rats? I don't know. I kind of
don't like rats.
But the most diseases.
Like how many are you talking about?
Well, in order you have to the entire floor is covered, and you have to walk through them in order to get to the door, either to the treasure or to get out or to escape. And so, like, knee deep in them.
Oh, ooh.
You know what? Rambo could do it, so can I.
Yeah. So one snakes, one bugs, and one rats.
I love this sequence when he's telling her to pull that lever and he sticks his fist out and said, "Do it now." And he said, "We're going to die if you don't do it." I know my nephew. That's the great thing about these films. When my nephew in the 90s, this is why film is important. I passed down a lot of these films to my nephew. The early films I saw when I was a kid, like this and Star Wars and Raiders, and my nephew, and this was like a couple of years ago, late 90s, early 2000s, when I saw this film, actually enjoyed it and became a Harrison Ford fan. And that just showed you the value of good movies and storytelling, because the next generation after me, when my nephew was the age I was when I saw this, enjoyed it as much.
Oh, excellent. So they hold up. Yeah.
They definitely do, because he thinks these are classics. He actually enjoyed watching them, and still now he's in college now, but back then he enjoyed them just as much as I did when I was younger. We could see why they're the hits that they were. And he said, "Yeah, Harrison Ford was the man."
I actually feel for Willie. I'm sorry. I know everybody else is hating her right now. I get freaking out about reaching her hand in. Okay, I when I was a kid, I understood what she was going through.
I think it's that part where the centipede goes up her back.
Yeah, I'm like, I get why she doesn't want to do it, even though I understand where they're coming from too, that they're gonna get crushed.
Yeah, I get both sides, because he tells her, "Hurry up, we're going to die. We're going to die." Ew.
I'm sorry, that's funny. He's just being matter of fact. We're dead.
Yeah.
Oh! I see the centipede going up. I don't like that. Yeah, pull that, please.
Yeah, well, how disgusting would this all be if it wasn't for the pressure that's being applied by John Williams in this scene? Because he's really applying the pressure with the music.
Yeah.
I agree. That's why we feel it.
This is the type of stuff they don't really do anymore. Is come up with your own score for a film and then really push it.
I like when he opened it up. He's sitting there all cool and GQ, trying to act like he didn't panic, but he did. Oh no! Then it comes again.
Get through there. Why are you reaching to get your hat?
I love that. I love that in every film. He's got to have that hat in every movie. And you know what? That became a thing. It, again, copied in other films. I can't think off the top of my head, but other movies where characters got to have their hat. And that's in all three. Even in the last one, Last Crusade. Yeah,
that's a good point. It's like a quasi waltz. I never really thought of it in those terms, but that's an interesting way to think about it, because it does build the tempo.
I think so.
I'm glad I didn't have to conduct that piece and match it to the film. I'll say that.
Now, I think by now the Mummy films with Brendan Fraser was influenced by these films.
Sure.
In fact, Fraser, when he was promoting The Mummy Returns, was trying to assure people we weren't trying to copy Indiana Jones. We were influenced by it. A lot of people, there were some that like his films, but then a lot of people said it was just a copy of Indiana Jones, except it had a monster in it.
Okay, here's what I'll say to that. Both the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie and both the Indiana Jones movies are taking from an older tradition that I know that Lucas say it was the serials, but I look at a lot of the Pulp Fiction of the era, a lot of the adventure stories of that era, and that's where they're both pulling from. So it's not so much that one is ripping the other off. Like, I like Alien, and I also got a kick out of that movie Life with Jake Gyllenhaal. People say, well, that's an Alien ripoff. Well, actually, no. Both that and Alien belong to the same genre. You were having movies like Alien in the 1950s. Like, I think one was called It, the Thing from Another World, where they were on a spaceship and there was a creature stalking them and the ducks and stuff. I know it seems like it's maybe that it's ripping off, but it's really not. I think they're just pulling from the same source, you know.
I
This is my
agree.
opinion. This is my opinion, at least. I don't know.
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Maybe that's why it feels same to people, but they can't they don't explain it the way you just explained it. But that's the feeling that they get.
Now, apparently, the Thuggee actually did exist. I was listening to an old horror radio program, and it was about, oh, you're in India, the Thuggee cult's going to get you. And then you heard like some guy screaming in the wind while they were in the cabin, Kali! You know, it was this whole thing, which I don't know how much of that's legend, how much of it really existed. I think the British did deal with them during their colonial phase, and they were just,
And
I think
they would
even...
be very efficient with that. I'll say that.
What?
The British would have been very efficient with that in the 1800s.
Yes.
We had the very famous ripping your heart out scene. Okay.
This was what created the PG-13 rating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. It did. You know, it didn't freak me out as much as other people got freaked out. I don't know. Maybe because at this time,
freaked out parents and moms a lot.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'd heard what I heard was much worse than what I actually saw. Okay, you know.
Yeah. When I heard about it, I'm like, really? And you know, I was scared for my mom because I really talked my mom into coming to this, and I'm sitting in the seat going, "Oh, mom's gonna kill me when I get home," because I didn't tell her this. I would tell my mom, I said, "Mom, I didn't know there was a heart-ripping scene in the film. Sorry." But my mom was okay with it. She said she was okay with it, but it was a big deal. And I got to be honest with you, as a kid, I went, "What's the big deal?" Maybe because about this time I had gotten used to Raiders film, and it just didn't freak me out the way it was freaking out other people. But yeah, the controversy, it caused the PG-13 because the parents were afraid kids would go out and rip people's hearts out. But I don't know. I didn't have the reaction that a lot of people around the world did. But yeah, but I'm just letting you know, for me as a kid, I was still under the age of 13 when I saw it. It didn't freak me out as they thought most parents did. My nephews thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Rocks. Yeah.
You go on the playground and you tell your friends, dude, I saw this guy's beating heart ripped out of his chest, and that he was still alive, and he gets thrown into this pit of fire, and he gets set on fire, and the heart gets like, and you're hearing this in the playground. You think, I got to go see this movie, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly the way it was. Totally different. Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's how you get week 2 bumps in your box office is when you have stuff like that.
And you're right, because the controversy did not hurt this movie at all. You're right. It actually, again, it helped it. It didn't hurt it. People didn't stay away. They kind of rushed to see it.
Yeah, I looked up the box office, and this was the number 2 movie in 1984, and it grossed almost 180 million, and it was just behind Ghostbusters, which had 220.
Right. That's right. That was a great year for films. We had Ghostbusters. We had this. Wow, that was a really good year for some really classic films that stand around today.
Oh, yeah. It has Gremlins, Karate Kid, Beverly Hills Cop, Star Trek 3. All came out in 84.
Oh yeah, I went to the movies a lot in 84. I did. I didn't see the Star Trek movie. I wasn't into that, but definitely saw Beverly Hills Cop. So I went to the movies a lot. This, Beverly Hills Cop, Ghostbusters, yeah.
Terminator came out in 84.
Yeah.
Last Starfighter, which they're talking about. They were talking about either doing a reboot or a sequel to that.
Interesting.
Which I would love that.
They did a musical version of that. Did you know that? It was an off-Broadway musical, Last Starfighter.
Huh.
I heard about that. I was shocked.
Well, I didn't watch Temple of Doom and start pulling people's hearts out, but man, did I play more video games so somebody would come down and pick me up and take me into space.
You're playing Star Fox, hoping Fox McCloud might come down and said, "This is
exactly."
Actually, that's the closest game I ever owned. That was closest to the thing from Last Starfighter was Star Fox. But
Eric Woods is really on point with his. Thank you, Eric. He's really giving us some good. I forgot about Gremlins. Thank you, Eric Woods. I saw that also. So I went to the movies a lot in the 80s, and I'm proud that I'm proud I come from that decade because I saw some really classic films that they're trying to recreate and they can't. They just don't have the magic to do it. They don't know what really made those movies work. But I went to the movies a lot. I would save my money up for my summer job, and like every Saturday night, I was like going to the movies.
Yeah.
Well, movies like this and all those and all the ones we talked about, Ghostbusters, they didn't care about political correctness. They didn't care about making sure that everybody was represented. They just looked to make a fun movie that entertained everyone. And you try making that stuff today, and you can't. You have to have quotas. You have to have certain people, and you have to have certain writers who are going from different perspectives. And it when you do that, try to make a movie like that by committee, it just doesn't come out as when you have the visions of Spielberg and Lucas.
Well said, Zootopia, and that is why a lot of movies suck right now, and the Oscars ratings are in the toilet because they are not making. They're not making good movies for the very reason you just said. They don't get it. These films speak to everybody. I don't need to look like Willie for me to like this film. I don't need to be like Indiana Jones to like Indiana Jones. I like the movie for what it is, and the culture is rejecting that or don't believe that. But there's a reason why these movies work. I didn't care. I just wanted to come and be entertained. Like I said, Harrison Ford was my guy back in the day. That was my hero. Harrison Ford's name was on a movie. I was there. And that was my hero at the time, was Indiana Jones. Like I said, everybody knew I was a big Indy fan. So I was, I liked him for who he was, his character, and how Harrison played him.
Yeah.
And it was also fun because, like I said, this is the first film my whole family came to see. That's another thing. Our whole family, we went out for burgers after this was over, and we came to this film. We finally got my mother to come see it, and we all just had a good time, because like I said, my mom like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I like old fashioned romances. I said, oh, come on, you might have a good time, and she became a Harrison Ford fan after this film. So I like, my mission's accomplished. But that just shows you what a good movie can do. And Ford was just an actor for everybody. Everybody, black, white, young, and old, in that theater just loved the character of Indiana Jones.
Now, you're saying he was your hero, though, but a few minutes ago, he's not really acting all that heroic. He's looking at those stones. He's saying, wow, I got my fortune and glory. But then, of course, he hears the wailing. Right.
Well, see, that's the thing. And I was so into him, I just wanted to follow his journey.
Right.
I get you. I get what you're saying. I really do. But I was such a fan of his. I just wanted to follow his journey in the story. And I do agree with you. And this is also where my mother's, from what she told me, began to like him, because she liked the fact he started to care for those kids. And I don't know what it was, but she said she liked that he didn't rely on the fortune and glory and caring about the children. And she said that this is actually her favorite part of the film, is when he goes through this arch. Thank you, Eric Woods.
I would say this though. He has assumed responsibility for a child that's not his. How many people would do that?
I'd like to think more than we'd know,
Right. And yeah, that's it's very true.
He took care of a kid who tried to rob him.
Yeah.
And then he sees this, because my mother said when she saw this, she got emotional watching this scene, seeing these children in labor and seeing the kids. And I saw the look on her face, and she said she actually got emotional watching that. It did bother her, and the scene where the kid gets well, I guess it was her motherly instinct, but she did. And she's liked that moment, and that's actually, it got an applause when Indy takes the rock and hits the guy, but it also gets him caught. So again, Age Boomer, I just wanted to follow his arc. I was such a fan. But there was something inside of me as a little girl thinking, I know in the end of this movie he's going to do right. I just know he just has to. That's the little girl in me looking at the hero. I know he's going to do good. I know he is. That's what I kept saying while I was sitting there watching it as a little girl.
Aspirational hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I kept saying to myself as I watched it. I just believe firmly that I know he'll do right. He has to.
Now look at this. They're talking about they're going to make me drink the blood of Kali and they'll fall into the black sleep. We don't learn a lot about it. We don't have to, but we learn just enough that we understand why maybe some people in this movie are working for this cult that shouldn't be, like the Maharaj and the other thing. Maybe they've been stuck in this trance, And of course, there's we've already seen introduction to the supernatural or the preternatural maybe, and it's a I love the villain here too.
It also makes Indy vulnerable because he's been captured at this moment by forces he has no control over.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is when he's captured. It is a moment for him. You go ahead about the villain. Go on.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say that this is what Indy has to go through to realize also what's important to him. Is it the stones? Is it the fortune and glory? Or is it when he sees Willie and Short Round in trouble? And then that's when he breaks out of it through them and learns his lesson and goes on to be the hero in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I like he's giving his James Bond villain speech here. He's like saying how Kali Ma will rule the world. We'll take out all the world's religions and we'll take over. And he has all these plans and like he's like, oh, you'll become a true believer. Look at that face. He looks terrifying. Okay.
Yes.
It's also pretty remarkable that they don't introduce this guy until 45 minutes into the film. Is that it? More than 45 minutes?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Over an hour later. It's
over an hour.
Yeah. But I think that keeps the mystery up. Yeah.
I think George Lucas described this sending Indy to the pit of hell, pretty much. I think George Lucas, I think, said that he is now in the hell, or at least the hell of his dreams, I suppose. And it is. It's a dark.
They definitely filmed it like that. You definitely get that feeling.
I mean, look at the cult. They're wearing red. Some of them have skulls paste on their faces. There's a fire pit. It's this is not on the up and up. Okay, what's going on down here?
Yeah, and it's underneath a palace.
I love this. It's the Indiana Jones voodoo doll, even though it's not really a voodoo doll. It's another reason, but whatever. It's the voodoo doll, and he's like, and the what is it? The Maharaja or the Prince or whatever? Yeah, he's. Oh, I think when I saw this movie, I wanted a voodoo doll. I'm like, whoa, does that really work? And I did research into voodoo, which is a different thing, but whatever. This is good stuff here.
I think he gets emotional when they see him whip Short Round. I think that's when he gives in because he can't stand him hurting this child. Yeah. And Short Round screams too. Again, it takes me back to The Empire Strikes Back when Han is put into the carbon freeze. Yep. Similar scene. And you hear Chewbacca's wailing. George Lucas is writing. Not such a bad thing because sometimes those motifs you can reuse those motifs again if you play it right.
Now, Eric Wood says the choral music Williams writes for the Tealing the Stone scene is goosebump inducing. Huh.
I'm sorry, guys. I had to step off. The doggies were barking.
Oh, it's all right. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is the speech. Yeah, the Hebrew God will fall, then the Christian God will be cast down. Soon Kali Ma will rule the world. Yes.
That's right. That's good. Life goals.
Yeah, having your freakish deity who scares me. Okay. It's like... I'm telling you, you'll read a lot of Robert E. Howard stories like this, where you have some adventure going to some forbidden part of the world, and it's all this terrifying stuff.
I think that this is probably part of the reason why you don't get a lot of Temple of Doom toys, because I don't think you'd get like a sippy cup from made out of the head that they poured the black stuff in.
That would have been really neat, though. Okay, they did. Oh, go ahead, Leia.
No, I was gonna say I know there will be some fans who would buy that.
They did make Lego Indiana Jones sets, and some of them were based on Temple of Doom. I think they had the minecart area. And they did do a Lego Indiana Jones game. You know what's funny about the Lego Indiana Jones game? When you're playing the Temple of Doom stages, when you play as Willie in an area, her weapon is her screaming. Like she'll scream at an enemy and it'll fall apart. You know?
She does scream. She has a very good scream.
Yes. I don't know. I kind of like Willie. I guess she's kind of a pain in the butt, but that might be what I like about her. I don't know.
That's okay. You all have her favorites.
Yes.
And did you ever get the feeling like like LeiaPlusSize, you were saying that everybody was didn't like the watching all the kids in slavery, but like when Nike watched this movie, they were taking notes.
Oh.
Zootopia, you had to go there.
Okay. Zinger.
Okay.
A zinger there.
This is horrifying, though. And you see both Indy and this other guy, and I know these two guys were not part of this cult willingly, okay?
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree.
They had a completely different face when they was talking to them, and I think they were actually being sincere in the scene we saw earlier. I think then like, I don't know, midnight happens and they turn into this other version of themselves and they come down here. I don't know. It's fascinating. I should actually try reading the novelization. I don't usually do that, but I'm curious if there's stuff that was left off that we didn't hear about. I'm sure there was a novelization of this at some point, but
yeah, I read it like so long ago. Probably 7th grade.
oh, okay. Terrifying. I think I had the children's book on I know I had the one for Raiders. You know, I used to get the records or the tape and you'd read along with the pages. Turn the page when the bullwhip cracks. That's what the guy would say before you started. And, you'd read along while listening to the story about Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of Doom.
I never saw that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, they had them for Star Wars as well. I know I had the Star Wars ones. They even had a couple of original Star Wars stories too, set in the Star Wars universe that were these little kids' books on CD. One was about C-3PO showing up at a place where the scientist was making droids, and one of the droids led a bad revolution. And he was a creepy looking droid too. But that was like a side story, and I guess C-3PO and R2-D2 had to stop it from happening or something. It was interesting.
Mm. And okay, this is where he's under the thuggy. Even in the theater, I was still going and say, "Oh, Indy, I know you got to come out of it again." little young me,
And
But I like how short and then Short Round is in his scene can transport to what he was trying to do.
Oh yeah. And we have the chanting in the background, right? It's creepy as all get out. We were watching Young Sherlock Holmes around Christmas time, and I was making a point that there's a lot in that movie. They have an evil temple scene too that reminds you a lot of this too. But I didn't care because I like Temple of Doom and I like that movie too. So who cares even if they're kind of echoing each other, And
I saw Young Sherlock Holmes too, and I enjoyed it. I know what scene you're talking about, and people did say it did feel like it was Temple of Doom-ish.
Yeah, and you know what I thought at the time? I like Temple of Doom, so I don't mind seeing this again. I kept thinking that you have these evil cult temples all over the world at different points, and you'll stumble upon one,
Right. Exactly.
I remember there was a Muppet Babies episode that took place in the Temple of Doom. Did anybody watch the Muppet Babies cartoon back in the day?
Yeah. I did. I don't remember that one.
They did a Kermit as Indiana Jones, Baby Kermit as Indiana Jones, and they did a Temple of Doom thing. I'm not kidding you here. That was an episode, yeah.
Because the 80s kids were the best kids.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. In the 80s, again, they're trying to recreate what we had in the 80s, and they don't know how to do it nowadays.
Well, they certainly didn't know how to do it on Stranger Things season 3.
No.
1 and 2, I thought they were doing a pretty good job, and then we get to season 3, and it's like, guys, that you don't have Soviets running around with Russian accents in the United States in the middle of at the height of the Cold War when Reagan's president. Okay, the FBI, the CIA, they'd all be descending on that town in a heartbeat. I'm sorry. I was there. Okay, do it like the Americans, where they're at least posing as Americans with American accents and knowing how to speak even the colloquialisms. Do that, but don't have it be actual Russian soldiers there. That's not believable. I'm sorry. That's.
I believe you.
That first season of that show is just great.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I thought even the second one I've liked, but yeah, when we get the 3. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's not. I love this short round. Short round is kicking buck, and the other kids are getting inspired by him. Okay, yes. You know something? I'll lead the way.
My mother loved that moment.
And I remember I read something where they said that Molaron's headdress that he's wearing was they used a cow skull to base it off of, because that's sacrilegious in Indian culture.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that was another layer to it.
I see, because of course this is the bad guys, so they would be doing the cow thing. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm still waiting for Sideshow to do a 1-1 replica of that, because I would so buy it.
I'm telling you, I'd like. I you know what? Todd McFarlane used to do those miniature sets. He did some for Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. Do one for Temple of Doom. Of course, now Disney owns it, so we're probably going to get it. Okay, but that would have been cool. Look at that, Beans. I'm sorry, that whatever that burning thing is. Where is that a volcano? Where are they? Is that like
different the Earth? Is it not?
They like dug a hole into the Earth's core. Is that where she's getting sent? I mean, this is. Oh, I'm not like an Indy right now, and he's grinning and he's smacking him. I'm like, ooh.
What, fighting the what?
Well, hitting short round, yeah.
No, I'm glad he's whipping butt now, but he's whipping butt to the the bad guys.
Indy, I love you. Okay.
And I like that. Again, my mother was sitting next to me, and that's when she fell in love with Indiana Jones. I said, I'm glad he's thinking about going to get those kids and saving them. Because then there was a part of me that said, yes, I knew he would be the hero. I knew he would come back. The little girl in me was saying that.
Yeah, this is another scene where you kind of see why they went to the PG-13, because they're holding a knife to a kid's neck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lots of kids in peril.
We do need a PG-13.
They put a guy's hand in a blender.
Yeah.
This movie didn't show in Germany, I bet. They got a real thing about putting kids in trouble in media over there, at least back in the day. I bet this movie didn't end up over there. And I guess
It's banned in India still to this day.
It's what?
It's banned in India.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see why. Probably, I think they don't like the fact that that they are the bad guys.
Only some of them are the bad guys, though. Other ones are in peril. Why is it banned in India? Do you know why? I'm curious.
Because what Princess Leia said, they had all the locations scouted out, and India was like, "Yeah, you can film here. Can we see the scripts? No, you can't come here."
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm wondering too if it has something to do with the fact that the whole Cali thing, that maybe they didn't want to be like I said, it's a different culture, different religious system over there. I don't know how they view any of this, because I don't even know how accurate any of this is, to be honest. I don't know. But I mean, it's.
You don't have to look too hard to find videos on YouTube about how this movie's racist and misogynistic.
They hate all the Indiana Jones movies. Let's be honest.
I agree. They hate everything, because everything that happened before they was born. So
Yeah,
they hate everything. I don't get any of that in this film at all. That's just them hating their own lives. They're unhappy, and they just want to hate everything that makes people happy and feel good.
Pretty much. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, this guy got tossed. Actually, maybe I hope he just wasn't under the spell and was actually a bad guy as well, because he just got pinned. Okay.
Yeah.
He at least got some ribs broken at the least. Maybe he's still alive. He could still be alive, actually, for all I know. Okay. That one guy later on, though, he ain't surviving what happens to him, though.
No.
You know the scene I'm talking about. Okay.
I absolutely do. Ian Clark, what scene were you an extra in? I'm curious. If you put in the comments, what scene were you an extra in The Last Crusade? He has a comment in this. Says, I was extra in
I'm
Indiana
curious.
Jones. I'm curious. Do you know what scene you were extra in? Now, my mother said this was her favorite part of the film because she loved the fact he rescued the kids. She said she was happy to see the kids freed. She said that was her favorite part. And I laughed at him and I'm like, okay, Mom, let's break it down here. Indy has survived falling off a plane. He survived people eating monkey brains and snakes. He survived seeing people's hearts getting ripped out. And the one moment that's your favorite is the kids being freed from the cave of everything that has happened. I told her that. I went through everything. I said, okay, Mom, let me break this. She said, yes. That moment is your favorite moment. She said, yes. That's my favorite moment when he goes back and he frees all the children. And that's what I knew I was a fan of his because I couldn't see the children getting beat up like that. And I was a little baffled because I'm like, all that great action with Indiana Jones and my mom only remembers the kids getting freed. She loved that. She loves this whole moment of the kids being freed and running out the palace. But you know what? I said, well, if it'll win her over to Indiana Jones, I'll take it because she did go back to us to see The Last Crusade, and she became a fan of Harrison Ford. But that was her favorite moment.
Yeah. Well, it's a great moment, and I'm thinking too. You know, he's not. I don't know how seriously he's taking them when they say we prayed to Shiva and Shiva sent you to us, and he's like, no, I just fell out of the plane. But when you're seeing everything that transpires, maybe Shiva did send them. Okay, I mean, maybe I mean, maybe their prayers were answered, and he's the one that ultimately saves the kids. Okay, and brings the stone back to them. I mean, he's the hero. Okay, even though he probably didn't see himself as it, but he is actually fulfilling that role right now. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe we don't always see ourselves as heroes, but maybe when the moment comes, maybe we will act when we're supposed to and do the right thing. Yeah.
Eric Woods, I agree. I meant to bring it up. I love that shot of him in the cave. Eric, you're right. That is one of the greatest moments in the mine. And they look up, and there he is, ready to just whip some tail. I do love that moment. Great call, Eric Woods. Age, and that's his journey. Age, what you just described is his journey to being the hero. Every hero, and Lucas may have his faults, but I think Lucas understood the hero's journey probably better than anybody ever known. And I think now we appreciate it more after what Kathleen is doing. But I think he really understood what it meant to be the hero's journey. I'll put it like that. What you just described was his journey, Me sitting there as a young girl thinking, I just know he's going to do the right thing. I just know he's going to do it. I believe in him to do it, and he does it. And I think Lucas understood that. And a lot of people today don't get it. They don't get a hero's journey, and Lucas did. I think Lucas understood that. Lucas wrote heroes pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Luke. Now we got Indy. He understood a hero.
Well, I think that he not only studied it, but I mean, he leaned into it and really took it to the next level in all of these films. And, and they were audience pleasers. And there's a reason why that. It's because this hits us not just consciously, but subconsciously as to what we believe heroes are and what they should be. And I think that's probably what your mom sensed. Even if you can't articulate it, you still feel it.
Well, very good words, Zootopia. I agree. Because I was a little girl and a kid, and through the whole film, I kept saying, "Well, he's gonna come around. He has to. He's got to come around. It'll get there. I know he can." And what you just explained, Zootopia, that's timeless. And see, I really didn't get that feeling again until the Cap movies came out. I really didn't get that feeling again. I think that's why I embraced it so strongly, because it's been a long time since I got that kind of hero again. And you're right, and they don't understand that. They feel a hero is what a person is instead of who a person is, and that's wrong. They don't get that, and that's why a lot of these films are in the sewer, because they don't get it. I love how he just starts struggling, this guy with the Just punching this poor guy. But then when I listen to that poor guy next, I feel sorry for him. I'm like, oh God, getting crushed with those rocks is not a good way to die.
Yeah.
One thing about this scene is, unless you see Harrison Ford's face, this is not Harrison Ford in this scene. This is his stunt double.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know he had a lot of stunt doubles in certain scenes.
He had to have emergency back surgery, and Spielberg didn't want to get behind schedule, so they filmed it with Vic Armstrong, and then they came back and they did pickup shots with Harrison's face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did read about that. You're right, Birdman. I did read about that. He did talk about that.
Yeah. I also love the shot where they have Indy punching them in the foreground and then Short Rounds punching them in the background. And it's just, it's kind of, it's tying the two together, that they have this bond and they're both heroes and they're both trying to do the right thing and save people and save kids. And I just love that shot.
And the audience did too, that got an applause in the theater. I remember all that got applause in the theater when that happened. And then after that, again, my mom doesn't usually like these kind of pictures, but she was enjoying it. She said at this point too, said she liked that. She really took to the him rescuing the kids, and then in little Short Round as well.
Yeah, this is the part where you look at the guy and the terror on his face, and you're like, you just messed up. You are in trouble.
Yeah, Samuel Proctor, that is just garbage talk. That's the problem today, Samuel, why films are not that good.
But what's his name? Ian Clark said he was a German soldier in the Berlin book burning scene. Yeah, that's cool.
And Ian, what regiment? I'm just curious. Are we in a Scottish regiment? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I understand. I'm just curious.
Well, back to Samuel Proctor, I just want to say that's why movies today are not good.
Well, Ford versus Ferrari was very good, but of course, I realized later on that was one of the last movies made by 20th Century Fox. So, so I actually did like 20th Century Fox a lot. I was not happy about the buyout because I thought they were a good studio. I mean, for the moment, they made turkeys once in a while too, but Ford versus Ferrari, I really enjoyed that movie. 1917 was good. If you get around to watching that, it's a good World War I movie. And that was the last movie I saw in a theater, actually. It was 1917. I used to go to movies all the time, and I just haven't been since the pandemic hit.
No, that's actually, like for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, our IMAX theater in town showed Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I went and saw that, and that was the first time I'd seen Raiders on the big screen.
I should have gone to the trouble of seeing some of those re-releases. Go ahead, though. Sorry to interrupt it. Yeah.
Oh no, that was. I just thought that it was the first time I was able to see it on the big screen. I was too young to when the first Raiders came out, but it was neat to be able to see that for the first time on there.
But isn't it interesting when the pandemic hit? When the theaters opened and show classic films like Raiders, those movies were making money. Yeah. Still, that people still were coming. They were amazed that they were re-showing movies from the 80s, Back to the Future, Raiders, the Star Wars trilogy, and they said people were coming out to see those. Some drive-ins were reopening, and they were showing these films, and that was what bringing people back to the theaters. I thought that's very interesting. That just shows you how these films endure. Classic movies endure every generation. I tell people there's a reason why we still love The Wizard of Oz, and that's like a 100-year-old film, but there's a reason we still love it. And I think classic movies endure. Like I said, my nephew, who is another generation, thinks this is the coolest ever, and said Harrison Ford was the man back then. I like Harrison Ford. And I'm like, my nephew, this young, is enjoying these Raiders films. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And he told me lately that's what he's been watching. He says since the lockdown, he's been watching everything from the 80s because he likes it. He likes the films back then. And he was born in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are the types of films that endure. I mean, you're going to be able to watch this, in the 2040s and still have a good time and have a sense of wonder and just timelessness about it.
Right.
I think this might be my favorite music track in the movie. The minecart chase. What do we think?
Yeah. It's scored great. It is. That's a great score to do despite the action of the cart. It is scored well. I agree. It's a great scene. I liked it.
It's like being on a roller coaster in the movie theater, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I liked about it. Yeah. Yeah, it was like dealing on a really,
This should have been a ride. I know that there was an Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland, but I'd never been on it because they didn't bring it to Orlando, Disney World, but there was an Indiana Jones ride they had in Disneyland in Hollywood, in California.
I got a question, guys, and anyone in the chat wants to answer. Do you feel perhaps now under Bob Iger, just Disney World just looks so the corrupt now, or corporate now, or just crowded?
I was
overly too much. I don't know.
We did a Disney vacation a few years ago. I think it was between the release of Rogue One and Last Jedi. And I did not enjoy it like I used to. I'm going to say this. It felt very... They make you wear those armbands now. That's like, or I don't know if they make you, but it sort of suggested you wear them. It very crowded. Don't even try Magic Kingdom. It's not good. And it was like the first time where I wasn't enjoying myself at Disney like I usually did. I remember that. And they're often trying to sell you a lot of extra stuff too, like the people running around trying to sell lightsabers to the kids and stuff. It just felt like there were like a lot of more, like there were more added expenses to the park. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it just feels like to me, and now that they're adding this new Avengers exhibit, and you've got Star Wars, you got Disney, I just feel like it's just gotten overcrowded.
Yeah.
It's becoming more corporate than fun than what Disney originally envisioned. Now I think it's become so the word I can think of, I know there's another word for it, but the only word I can think of, it's very corporate now. And I think it's just overload. I think it's just overload, that it's just lost its identity,
Well, I think you can say that about Disney in general, because they've purchased so many other properties. They don't really feel uniquely Disney. I mean, I'll say this. You would have Star Wars stuff at Disney World, but it was like, we're friends of Lucasfilm, okay? But then when they bought them, it's now part of them, or they could have it felt like you had other things in Disney World that weren't necessarily owned by Disney, but it was like this is like a friend thing, I mean, this is like, these are friends of the company and they're going to have an exhibit here. So but like Disney was unique in itself, it had all of its own properties. I mean, one of my favorite science fiction series and film is Tron. Big Tron fan, and I'm kind of sad that we'll never see another one of those because they bought Star Wars. So why are we going to get another Tron movie? That's probably what they say to the investors. And
you're right, because I like Tron Legacy a lot, and there was going to be another film, but they abandoned it when they got Star Wars.
I think that's what happened.
Yep. They put all their money into Star Wars. Well, look, you reap what you sow. And they put all their money into that, when I felt they should have stuck with Tron and build off of that, because I enjoyed Tron Legacy a lot. I don't know a lot of people, but I thought that was a really good film. And
I thought it was good too. Yeah.
The score and everything.
Yeah, it gives me an idea. Okay, but anyway, here I do Culture Fortress sometimes on Tuesday with Mr. Matchstick, and we do stuff that hasn't been infected by all the stuff, and who knows, maybe I'll do Tron one of these weeks. But oh man, I'm sorry, I'm feeling for Indy. He's put through the ringer in this movie. I mean, actually he's put through the ringer in every movie. Well, maybe not Crystal Skull, but like all three of them. Yeah, he's put through the ringer.
Oh, so yeah, he did.
I don't know if he has it worse here than he did in the other two, but it's and now the wave.
Yeah.
He's like, water. Oh, you want water? You get all the water you want. Is this that water you complain about, Daniel, that doesn't look quite like real water because it's a model or something?
He complains about this film. So, but yeah, the special effects in this scene doesn't hold up as well as other parts of the movie.
Right.
I still like it though. I still like it. When you're a kid, you're just fascinated to see anything that looks this good. Okay. Now it's all done with computers.
I was so into it. I just didn't pay attention to squat. I was just really into it. And like you said, I was a kid. So on the big screen, it looked like real water to me. I was just wrapped into this thing.
Well, definitely here it's real water too. And I like the little details, how it's not just it coming out of the spout, it's also bursting through parts of the wall that they're trying to cling on to. All the little details, okay? I'm just realizing I'm a big fan of the Prince of Persia games, at least they made years ago. And there are always segments in that where you have to cling to the wall and walk slowly like you're on the ledge. And I know that Jordan Mechner, he was a big Raiders of the Lost Ark fan. I'm sure he saw this too. In fact, he even said when he made Prince of Persia, the old PC game, he said, I'm basing it off of I'm basically making this game and was inspired by the intro sequence of Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know. And
that's how influential those. See, there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
These films, so what you want, Lucas's films are influential to so many filmmakers. That's right, Ian Clark. It did win Oscars for special effects, because back then, special effects were that's what special effects were back in the day. So it did. But I was so mad when Raiders did not win Best Picture at the Oscars. That's what I fell out the Oscars. I'm like, they just don't give Oscars to movies I actually see.
They gave the Chariots of Fire.
And I have never to this day saw that film.
Copyright violation, Boomer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. My tuneless dying. Okay. In fact, I think I do. I have the soundtrack to that, don't I? I think somebody gave that to me, didn't they? Okay.
I think that's the only memorable thing about that movie. I remember we watched it in school one time, and it was the most boring thing you'd ever seen.
You know, I was making a point that like the Paper Chase was considered this big deal movie back in the day, but there's no Blu-ray release for Paper Chase yet.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, Daniel's getting drowned out. I think whenever we talk, he doesn't come through. Hold on.
Hello? Daniel? Yeah, John Williams scored the Paper Chase.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think they missed. Raiders is one of the most Raiders and Star Wars are one of the most influential movies to this date. Like you said, so many filmmakers have been influenced by these films. So not to give it it should have got some special achievement. They need to have some decade award or something that shows the endurance of a film. And these movies have endured. They are the most. I think they are. Every filmmaker, young filmmaker, says, you know, I saw Raiders, and this scene is because it's an ode to Raiders, or it's an ode to Star Wars, or it's even in other films today. Bryan Singer said a lot of his scenes in the X-Men films, it was influenced by what he saw in Star Wars. So I think it endures, even with the special effects. It even now, these films still endure. That's why they can't capture the magic that these films did. I always tease because, like I said, my nephew loves these movies. 90s kid he is, and he is into these films. I think they're one of the greatest films he's ever seen.
Does he have a favorite
of the Raiders films?
Yeah.
I think he likes this one. Actually, he likes this one a lot. He thinks Temple of Doom is one of the best. He thinks The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film. But this one I think he likes a lot. I think this is his favorite of the two films he told me. The last time he told me. And then we saw Ghostbusters, and he likes Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and I just happened to ask him which character did he like the most, and he said, Bill Murray. He said the Bill Murray character was his favorite. That was his favorite character at the whole film, because I didn't think he would get the humor of Ghostbusters, but he enjoyed both of them.
I believe that this scene was an homage to another older adventure movie where someone did cut the bridge in half. I can't think of the name of it, though.
I can't think of it right now either.
But I think this was done in another movie, and I think they must have liked it so much we're going to use it again here. That's a fairly ruthless movie. Just cuts the bridge in half, and you're seeing the guys fall to what are those, crocodiles?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I have to admit, too, if I was standing there, I'm like, oh, Indy, I know you're not going to do that. I would be, too. Are you kidding me?
They're actually gators.
Oh, they're gators. Okay.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gators from Florida. Okay. Yeah, we do have gators down here. I've seen them too
But yeah,
many times.
They're pretending to be crocodiles, though.
Okay.
I also want to say that, and I know we talk about the third trilogy in films. I absolutely think The Last Crusade, again, is on my list of one of the best three threequels or part threes in
Right.
films I've seen. That was a great follow-up to this, because we're still thinking, how could this get any better? And I thought The Last Crusade just surpassed, not surpassed, but just really lived up to it, because every moment of that film was excellent. That's a great third part in a trilogy. I have to say, The Last Crusade was. I wasn't just because I didn't know how they were going to follow this one up, because we got so much great action, but it did not disappoint. It really didn't. Again, on my list of 3 sequels.
I love that part where he tosses the guy down. He just ducks out of the way, and that's a cool effect. I'm sorry. I don't.
Ian Clark, I had the same feeling. I came out of there at the end. First of all, applause from the audience. The movies that get, I remember the audience reaction. They were engaged in the film. At the end, it got an applause. And I came out there just cheering the Indiana Jones theme and just feeling, yeah, I agree with you, Ian. I really did. And that's when I just so fell in love with movies and what they meant. Same feeling. Same feeling you did, Mr. Clark. I said the same feeling you did.
And we get a bit of divine justice at this moment too, right? Like he's not worthy of the stones, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. There's no Thanos snap here. He does not get the
No. Yeah.
stones.
I wonder what was going to happen if he apparently thought if he acquired all the stones, he would Kali would rule the world or something. It was like one of these. I don't know. There goes the 2.
See, here's the thing, that's a good villain. That's the type of villain we're not getting these days. I just want to go into a movie with a villain that is just evil, wants to rule the world, Indy's in the way, take him out. I don't want none of these sympathetic little, like they're doing now. They're making villains. Like, one complaint people are saying about the MCU and Marvel is they have a villain problem. They don't know how to write villains. I just want the bad guy to be the bad guy, and that's what I love about this. I don't care what anybody says. He wanted to take the stones, rule the world, and have people under his control. Great villain. That's the kind of villain that's missing these days in films.
Well, we'll see what they do with Dr. Doom.
Well, I pray that they don't make him sympathetic. I don't want a Dr. Doom story of when he was little that Mr. McFluffy Kittens got hit by a car, and ever since then he decided to become evil or something on that. I don't know. That's what they're doing these days.
Let's be honest, Dr.
Reed
Doom,
Richards, your dad ran over my cat.
Yes. That's right. Yes, what they're really right now. Yeah.
It was all because he was late for your birthday party, so you're the reason I turned evil.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. He's got the stone.
Yes.
And they're laughing, see? What's he going to do with that stone, man?
Gonna take it back.
No, he's going to go back to Hong Kong and trade it for that diamond. I'm kidding.
No.
And then he'll drink the poison again. It's like, we got you with that twice. I'm sorry. In that beginning scene when they're all laughing, and I'm kind of laughing too, because it's like they're a bunch of frat boys with some guy laughing at them.
My mom loved this moment when they got united with the kids. Again, that's what my mother told me. Oh, I love the moment. Now, maybe to her, like you said, Zootopia, maybe that's when she became a fan of Indy, but she said, I love it. It made her happy. When she came out the theater, it put a smile on her face at the end. I said, I was happy when the children were reunited with their parents. I was so happy to see that. And because of Indy, and Indy did that. So maybe it was,
Well, that's great. I mean, that's great. That's what Spielberg was trying to get you to do, is to be it's a moment where you're supposed to cheer and recognize the heroics of Indy and the good stuff that he does as an aspirational hero. So that's what you're looking for. That's what you want. So I'm glad your mom felt that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. She did. I never forget when she said that, and she was ready. She saw. We all went again and saw the Last Crusade. She went back to see that.
All I know is when I
Yes.
walked out of this, I wanted a whip, and it's a very good idea that my parents did not get me one,
You never had one?
because my guess my brother would not have his eyes right now.
I actually would buy the whip, the fake whips they'd sell in parks and like carnivals and stuff, and I would buy them when I was in. So I'd be Indiana Jones, and those things would fray after you whipped them a few times. Okay, they would start popping and fraying at the end. They would be useless. But they would sell toy whips at things. I used to buy them.
What was I going to say? I forgot. See, and what I like about this film is Indy stays the good guy. It's not like nowadays where the spirit of Kali is in me and it will stay with me forever or something, and it will follow me everywhere I go. He's Indy again. Nowadays, you don't get that. They may take the hero and says, you know what? Maybe Kali wasn't so bad. I think I like the idea of sacrificing children and people.
Are we really any better than the Thuggy cult, if you think about it?
Right, exactly. That's the way they write them now. Yes, that's why. It's
Once again, Nike sees the ending of this movie as a tragedy.
Oh no, no! We don't get the kiss. The elephant and Short Round interrupt the kiss. There will be no romance. There will be no romance between him and Willie because he has to go to Marion, right? Okay.
No time for love, Ducky Jones.
That's what they do when you don't, because if they cement it with the kiss or something else, then it's done. But no, we do get a kiss. Never mind. What was I thinking? Okay. But he still ends up with Marion. Oh, well, at least for a little bit. And then, okay. And then the kids.
I think you could tell pretty much that this relationship was not going to last.
I don't know. I like it though. It's friendly at least though. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I knew it wouldn't either, but I took it to give us a good ending. We got to have a kiss at the end.
Until we find out that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is his daughter and Willie's her mom.
Oh no! Don't. Don't give me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please don't go there.
Age, now you're scaring me.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge ought to dye her hair blonde for the part or something, right? And
you're scaring me.
And she'll have the London accent because Willie had a stage career in London, and then and then never mind. I'm thinking it's just no. Okay, but
Clark, I do agree with you. I love that Short Round's theme comes in the end credits. The music for the end credits is great. That is a great ending score.
Well, I like we get the indie theme at the end too when the kids are all, and then we get the indie theme. It's like, yes, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, it comes back. It comes as the credits roll. His theme does come back, and I like that it ends with his theme as it should. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. Sprocket Systems, a division of Lucasfilm Limited. Well, they just own everything, don't they?
Yeah. And David Fincher's name's in here somewhere.
Well, it's Sprocket. That's named after that thing from the Jetsons, right?
Probably so.
That's probably what they named it after.
Sprockets.
Yes. Yeah. I remember the Jetsons. Mr. Ford's stand-in, Jack Dearlove. It's an interesting name.
Right, Eric Woods. That's exactly how John Williams did it. That's why he's going to be a hard act to follow. That's talent. That is so missing again in movies today for scoring. Williams understood music and how it's used and how you put it together. You can tell a lot of them. You can tell they're not doing it the way Williams did.
See, I think about John Williams is he still scores with his piano, paper, and pencil.
Well, is it possible that some of the up and coming people making scores are also being micromanaged by the studio? Because I know they had a trouble with the score for Rogue One that was supposed to have a completely different score in the original take, right?
Yeah. And Alexander was doing Black Widow too, but then he had to drop out or he was replaced. I don't really know what the official story is, but I still want to hear Alexander Desplat's score for Rogue One. I hope that comes out someday.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear that.
So I'm curious, what else was out this summer when this movie came out?
Gremlins,
Zootopia.
Beverly Hills Cop. Well, that came out at Christmas time.
But it was in that
Dune.
year.
Dune came out.
Oh, okay.
Terminator. Conan the Destroyer. So the second one. Karate Kid.
Yeah, no, I like the
Brown,
Karate.
man.
The groan was for Conan the Destroyer. I'm sorry. It's fine. It's fine.
You
One
went
of
to
my favorite comedies of all time, Top Secret. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
I love Top
Yes.
Secret.
I did see that. I did, and I didn't. That's the comedy with a young Val Kilmer. I
I
did like
remember
that.
that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I did like that.
Supergirl came out that year.
I'd rather
Oh,
forget. Let's move on.
I have to say, I feel so bad for Supergirl because I haven't got it on DVD to watch it again, thinking it's not as bad as I remember it. I feel so bad for Helen Slater because I'm like, perfect casting for Supergirl. And then they have the scene where she gets out of the ship, is in the outfit and flying, and it doesn't look right. And I'm like, oh, this is where it falls apart. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I felt really bad for her, and I think it damaged her career too. And it's a pity because I think she was the perfect actress for Supergirl, but it just, yeah.
Yeah, I like the girl who's doing the Supergirl TV show. If she weren't in such a horribly written TV show,
Right, right.
I think she makes a good Supergirl.
Yeah, I wish Warner's would get their act together on the DC superheroes. I'm just actually tune in for Troy Pacelli and I this Friday. We'll be doing the next 2 episodes of Smallville, like where we're
Now,
talking about
Smallville was a show I just couldn't get it to. I
It's
have
okay.
to be honest. I watched
we
it
pick
for a
out,
little-
we criticize it too, as well as extolling its virtues. Yeah.
I had to admit, when it first started, I was interested, but then I just fell out of it. I don't know why. I just felt that it didn't do what it tried to do, and it didn't reach that. So I knew a lot of people that loved it, but I was like, nah, this isn't for me.
Maybe because it took us to season 5 before we got any major Superman villains besides Lex, who couldn't be a villain at that point anyway because he was Clark's friend. It's just
Perhaps, perhaps, but I think they tried to turn it into something that it wasn't. I thought it was going to be watching this progression of this hero from this, much like they did in the way they did in the first Superman movie, like the writer described Smallville as quiet and calm. And then when he gets to Metropolis, it becomes a comic book. And I think Smallville should have been the quiet and calm and build and build and build to that moment when he leaves Smallville and becomes what he becomes. But I didn't get that feeling. I think they were trying to turn it into this I'm a misfit kind of thing, and I just didn't feel that misfit formula didn't work. That works better in an X-Men universe, because in the X-Men universe the mutants are the misfits, so I could see why that would be a little bit harder for them. But I just felt they tried to put a square peg in a round hole and it didn't fit. So that's my reason for not enjoying it. Again, that's just me.
So how about Daniel? Any more thoughts on the score for this movie?
I am still waiting for the complete score to come out on CD, and I really hope it happens soon. Maybe with the release of the 5th film, they'll do a complete score release.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that might be the time to look into getting them again, because I don't actually have the scores to these. I used to have the score to Raiders on audio cassette, and I never got the scores of the other 2. But they might be releasing these on. Maybe they will release these on do a re-release, because I know they did that for when Crystal Skull came out. Didn't they do a fancy box set of them all?
It did. Tempo went from like 40 minutes to like 75 minutes, but considering there's about 120 minutes of film score, you're still missing roughly 40 minutes. And Raiders is mostly complete. There might be like 3 to 5 minutes missing. Last Crusade had more music. They still did not have the entire tank scene on one piece, which irritates me, but I won't.
Okay.
The Crystal Skull, expanded was the exact same commercial one that was available. They didn't do jack to that. That was
wow.
that entire release is just. I need to make a video about that, but it will like involve a lot of swear words. I have to put like a warning before it. But yeah, I mean, you should still buy that release because it's the most music you can get commercially, but it's not complete. And when I bought it, I thought it was going to be complete, and it's not. It was very disappointing. It was a letdown. I mean, it's like going on a date with a girl and you find out that she's not a girl. You know, I've never done that's about the level of like disappointment I had with that box set. Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty huge disappointment.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Zootopia. You have the Blu-rays. How are the special features on the Blu-ray? Are they the same ones from the DVDs?
Yeah, I it's been a while since I've looked at them. Let me see if I can pull one up.
There's some neat little galleries on this one. I get to see like a poster art that never got used. There's like poster art that never got used. Oh, look, this is the Indiana Jones poster. This is the Spanish language poster, or is that no, that's the German one. That looks interesting.
Well, it looks like I've only got the trailers. I know Spielberg is famous that he said that he's never going to do a commentary track for any of his films.
I think that's BS.
It's disappointing to me.
It's BS.
Because I think that if you love film as much as he does, I think that you would want. I mean, I would love to have like Stanley Kubrick doing it for 2001, or something like that, and that he just is against it on principle. Just seems strange to me.
You know what?
He changes his mind.
You know what, Spielberg, you're not going to be on this earth forever, and someone else will eventually do a commentary on your film. So now's your chance.
Yeah.
You have your words come out, or somebody else takes over. Okay, choice is yours.
Agreed. Agreed.
But yeah, it doesn't look like there's too much extra. Let me go grab the box and see if there's an extra disc. I don't think so though.
Sam Raimi does great commentary tracks on his discs. You know, the guy that did Spider-Man 1 and 2, 3. Remember those? And he did his Evil Dead the Evil Dead commentary tracks are some of the best commentary tracks I've ever heard, because they're a riot to listen to. Like I know on the first Evil Dead movie, you have Sam Raimi and the other guy, the producer, talking, and they're talking trash about Bruce Campbell. There's a separate audio commentary track with Bruce Campbell, and he's talking trash about Sam Raimi and him. And Bruce Campbell's funny. And then later on, you have tracks with just all of them together, which I think is funny. So I guess it's playful, you know. They're still, but they'll.
Yeah, they do have a bonus feature disc. I'm gonna have to check that out. Maybe
that might be where they put all the stuff that was on these DVDs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get a disc of Raiders, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and then I get a coaster that says Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on it, and then the bonus features.
Oh, coaster, funny. I see a picture here. It's a black and white photo. It must be of a premiere. I see Kate Capshaw kind of hanging off Steven Spielberg. Mm-hmm. Okay, you see George Lucas in the middle, and Kathleen Kennedy and her husband on the end. They're right there. I see them. She's younger in this picture. Okay.
Yeah.
She apparently has her claws pretty deep into.
I'm gonna say this: she was with the company for since the early days, so it's not. It's just Anyway, so let's see what else.
Well, that's why Lucas thought he could trust her with his work, which was but she betrayed him. He thought that he would give the power to her, because I don't think he really wants to run a company at this moment. I think he's comfortable being sort of in retirement, and he thought that she was going to protect his work, and she did the absolute opposite. She betrayed him, and that's why
it's obvious that she just resented him for years, decades, and just couldn't wait to have her hands on it so she could do whatever she wanted.
Because again, with Lucas, he's recently married. He has a new baby. I mean, he's focused on other things in his life, I'm sure. But
right. Well, she is delusional. I'm sorry. I hope I can say that, but she just had it in her mind that Either she wanted to be like him and couldn't, which she can't because she doesn't have his talent, or felt that because she wasn't like him, it was his fault. He's the reason I didn't become like him. It's because of him. So it's like you said, Boomer. A lot of this could be destroying everything he's ever done, probably out of her own resentment for him. But she doesn't have his creative mind. She may be, just because she's a good producer doesn't mean she's a creative filmmaker. She's terrible at it. But in her delusional mind, she thinks she is a genius like he is.
Yeah, Eric Wood says she was a producer on Temple of Doom. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Executive producer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. There's a little story. You can watch the storyboard sequence with the minecart race, and you can see the storyboards over the minecart race. That's neat. I love this movie. I'm sorry. We are going to have to do actually, does the Goonies have a good score, Daniel?
Yeah. It
Okay,
does.
so we should do the Goonies someday, yeah.
It's re-released on CD. If you want it, you need to buy it because when it's sold out, the price on that shoots up to like cray prices.
Okay.
It was like 4 figures before they re-released it. I bought 2 copies of it. Just
Gotcha. Okay, so next week, what are you guys doing? Because I know you're doing a special Thursday Scream, which I'm going to be on with you.
Green Lion Girl. We're doing The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
And
is that next?
I'm sorry?
Is that your next stream again? What are you doing The Little Mermaid for?
On Thursday night instead of Wednesday, because Green Lion Girl wants to come on, and she's got her show on Wednesday night. So,
great!
But were you still going to do a Wednesday stream that week, Daniel?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm open. I'm always open. But
or did you just?
I don't know.
All right, so we'll figure it out.
I'm really disappointed with this phone because the battery's like about dead. And
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little Mermaid. I'll try to catch that one because that's a great. That's a Disney classic, and I still love it to this day. So I'll try to catch that one. What was that?
I don't think I've ever seen The Little Mermaid, so I'll have to watch it before the show, definitely.
Oh, shame on you. They're just teasing.
Original score, and it beat out John Williams that year, so I was kind of pissed off about that.
Were you sure? What was up? Was Last Crusade up for score that year?
What year did The Little Mermaid come out? Was it 89?
89.
No. Yeah, it was Last Crusade. It beat out Last Crusade, didn't it?
Okay,
July. So
I'll give you that. I can understand your anger. If I had to choose between Little Mermaid and Last Crusade, I would have to go with The Last Crusade. So yeah. All right. I understand it now.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Little Mermaid's iconic too, though. So I don't know.
It is. It was the beginning of Disney's renaissance in the 90s when they started to go back to what they do best, which was traditional animated features, and the film saved their animation portion of their studio. They were about to shut that portion down, and that movie came out, and it saved the studio.
Cool. All right.
Well, anything else, guys? Anyone got a show coming up they want to plug real fast?
I
mean, you got Sunday night, right, Boomer?
I got Sunday night. I'm going to be Geeky Geezers. I'm wondering what we're going to be. I'm sure we'll be doing an Oscars post-mortem plus other things. It should be fun. Okay.
They were terrible, so spoiler alert.
Okay, all right. They actually looked fairly bad this year, and I'm not even trying to be. I'm not trying to be purposely negative. I'm like that whole setup in the station and with them sitting at tables. I didn't like that at all. And I know they probably did that for distancing reasons, maybe.
The whole thing was just in the sewer. That's the nice way of me putting it. That's the nice way of me putting it.
Even though I don't watch them, usually you'll see clips of somebody telling a joke or something, and I haven't seen any of that.
They used to be fun years ago.
They didn't tell any jokes. They did just all these political speeches. There really weren't any jokes from the clips I saw. No jokes. Nobody.
They can't have a host anymore since that thing that happened with Kevin Hart. Remember?
Yeah.
He got canceled because of tweets he wrote, and I guess he was going to be the comedic host that year. And then they said, okay, we're just not going to do a host, and then we didn't get a host. And then there was that one year where they had the 2 hosts. Remember that? I didn't even watch that. It was.
I think it was Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin. Was that Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin, or was the other one before that?
No, they had Anne Hathaway.
Oh, they were terrible. Anne Hathaway and the other guy, James Franco.
Yeah, that was bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, happy thoughts, but at some point we'll do Last Crusade, I'm sure. But cool.
I'm always happy to join whenever you want me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be there for Last Crusade. I will definitely join in for that. That's classic.
All right, so Daniel will figure out his phone situation. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
I was just gonna say, don't get me started on the atrocity that was The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. I'm not gonna get into that. That is so bad. I would think Marvel.
Temple did a video on it, and he had some good things to say about it. So I'm just like torn between, do I want to watch it? Do I not want to watch it?
I saw his video and I disagree with him.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what he saw, but I didn't see what he saw. I didn't see what he saw at all. I mean, my fair warning, Daniel, if this is the lowest Marvel has ever sunk. So look at your own cost. I'm giving you fair warning. Be afraid, be very afraid. But it's so bad that I just couldn't finish the rest of it. It's so awful. It is really awful. But Tentpool, I am in 100% disagreement with him.
Okay.
The Critical Drinker, who I usually agree with on most things, was just kind of like, eh.
Well, he was using satire in his review. His review was on point, but I got how he did it. I got it because he was more on point than the Pool guy. But Critical Drinker actually was more accurate about the show than Deadpool. Now maybe I'm reacting because like Steve Rogers, my all-time favorite character, but what they do to that character is just an atrocity. It's almost sacrilege. It's so bad. It really is so bad. But Critical Drinker got it. But I again, watch at your own cost. Just
no, I understand. And you're also of a Cap fan than I am. Just like Man's more of a Batman fan than I am. But I'm just kind of like, I'm probably not, because I can't decide. And I bought over 100 new titles this month, so I got enough things.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. If you've got something better, my warning to you to help you with your choice is to move on to something else.
Gotcha.
And you're talking from a woman who has been a dedicated MCU Cap fan for years. And if I'm warning you to move on to something else, trust my words, it is really bad.
Well, we got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 coming out. You know what? I'm going to say this. I saw the first one.
That sounds like fun.
I'll say this. It's the best movie they could have made out of Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay. So if you wanted it, maybe you have trepidations about even seeing a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but if you don't, you'll enjoy yourself. If you're a Sonic fan, you might get a kick out of it. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for coming by tonight. Appreciate everyone coming by as always. Thank you so much. Adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film scores, and we'll see everyone next week.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you for inviting me. Good night.
Night.